God. I feel sorry for anybody who listens to our
God, me too.
show.
Why are they doing this to themselves?
I
I know why we're doing it to ourselves, but
Okay. Is everybody ready?
I'm ready.
Should we go?
Yeah, let's go.
Welcome back to the Every FNFF podcast. I'm your oldest Grand Galan, Curtis Ware.
I am your Grand Galan Jr., Carl Germ.
And I'm your sweet baby Grand Galan Jr., Alex.
How's it going, guys?
We hope that joke went over well because it took like 13 hours to finally
That's
land
like
on it.
third or fourth try.
Yeah.
We spent all week.
Guys, before we begin, I want to talk about the remake
Oh, yeah?
of Final Fantasy VII.
Final Fantasy VIII Remaster?
The Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh, okay.
I want to talk about it.
I'll talk about that, sure.
I want to talk about...
They're making a remake?
I want to talk about how they've messed up one of the characters.
Go ahead.
One of the character models. That's right.
Uh-oh.
That's right. I can't believe they've done this.
Don't you fucking do it.
They revised one of the characters, and I hate it. I hate it, guys. Let me tell you why. You know why?
Why's that?
Because they won't show us something that we got to see in the old ones. And that's right. I'm talking about orbs, baby. I'm talking about those big, beautiful, big eyes that Barrett has. They put glasses on him, and that's fucked up.
That's fucked up.
That's fucked up.
That's rude.
I'm not getting
he has
it now.
big, beautiful eyes, and I hate that they got rid of him.
We maybe it's because he has Mako eyes, and that's going to be a big reveal.
But
Did he have glasses in the movie?
Oh shit! Yeah, hang on. Let me
well,
check.
it's later.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, canonically, he doesn't have glasses.
He got the silver glasses early
yeah,
for
they
being
put him on.
for being decent at the parade.
Right.
The fuck. Oh, speaking of that, I got a quick little note here about last week when we were talking
quick
about
nougat.
it. So last week we were talking about the TV rating,
Yeah.
and you guys said that I was wrong, and I'm here to tell you I'm never wrong.
TV rating?
Yeah, the TV rating for the parade.
Oh, yes.
So
I looked it up. We both looked it up.
yeah, but when I looked it up again, I have a chart right here. I can show you
All
on
right.
my laptop. If you have 50% or
Okay,
higher,
hold on. I'm going away from the microphone.
You don't have to, I believe. Oh.
no, we're doing it. I need to show my work. So if you look at this chart here, apparently if you get 50% or higher, it's like 5,000 gil. If you get 40%, you get 6 ethers instead of 6 potions.
Does it,
They don't have it in the script.
I was going to say...
Because I checked the script as well.
Right.
And I think from like going into the depths of GameFAQs.com.
Yeah. Like 20% and above gives you the same script or whatever. As long as you don't get the bottom one, you get the same text.
I think so.
Is that... Okay.
Maybe, but I think it's also just very difficult to get that high of a score because it depends on your starting point, which is always random.
Okay.
So like people like, and it's funny because I actually, while I was researching this, I found a GameFAQs argument happening,
Really?
which is like my favorite thing to find in old forum posts. So let me see. So someone got quote tweeted, Jesus Christ, quote posted 6 years ago, and it says, for those 2 mini games I lost on purpose to be sure to get the free HP plus material. Whatever, they're talking about their strategy. And the person called him out and said, "You didn't lose on purpose. You lost because you couldn't do it. If you could have, you would have."
What?
Like, imagine just like looking into like GameFAQs and being like, "Oh, I'm so pissed. This guy's acting like he lost on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, you cheated the game.
Yeah, you cheated not only the game, but yourself.
Yeah, so that's
Oh, my God.
that's always good.
Well, I graciously accept my defeat, and I'm sorry.
Sure. I also wanted to talk.
I'm sorry that we gaslighted you into believing.
No, that's totally fine. I could still be wrong. I don't.
It comes out that like
Someone on the GameFAQs page for every FNFF is going to call me, and then in 6 years I'm going to see it and be like, "Shit,
Carl is the new Grand Galan.
no."
the Grand Glen,
The grandest
Grand
of Galans.
Grand Glen.
Outer Galan.
Another thing I wanted to point out, I did actually make an error last week upon review. I said that the Ankh symbol was the coolest of symbols, and I greatly apologize for that because clearly the coolest of symbol is that cool S that we all know how to draw.
Oh, that's true.
And then
Hell yeah.
the second coolest is the Anarchy A. And if you put those together, you can spell ass and be the coolest motherfucker on the playground.
See if there's a mod for Steam.
I also made a
Barrett's
mistake
tattoo there.
2 episodes ago where I thought Bone Thugs and Harmony were 2 people. I've always thought it was Bone Thug and Harmony. But I've learned that is not the case, so I'm sorry for my error.
Yeah. That's okay. We can move past
I'm
it.
sure our faithful listeners will forgive you.
I hope.
It's big of you to admit that.
It's wedge of you to give me that.
Cool. So
Where did we leave off?
So
Yeah.
last week we left off in the cargo ship. I think where we left it on the podcast was Cloud walking away from that fight with
Yep.
Genova. He
Yep.
turns around and says, "Does the Promised Land really exist?"
That's right.
And then the ship it zooms out onto the world map again. We're on the ship and it's pulling in. It actually hilariously like turns around and then
And backs in.
And backs in.
It's like the ship treats it like a parking lot where it gets all the way up to it.
Does a
and then
K-turn.
does a little turn and backs into the port.
yeah, which I don't know if that's how ships actually work.
I don't know, but like the way the speed is and the way like the animation is, it's very car-like.
Yeah, it's
The way
very funny.
Yeah,
So yeah, and now we cut to Costa del Sol,
that's right.
the harbor.
And the very first thing that we get is all the party members kind of come out of the boat, right? And they're all kind of talking to each other. Barrett's commenting how hot it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, it's so hot. He says, like, I sure feel better now that I can say goodbye to that sailor suit. And like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess it's not immediately, but then he says, he tells everybody to make sure to mingle in like real folk and everything.
Uh-huh.
And then I love it. Fucking Eris is like, oh man, I really liked Barrett in that sailor suit. And like, yeah,
He looks so cute.
She says he looks so cute, and he's
Which
like,
he did.
He goes, "What do you mean cute?" And then Tifa's like, "Oh, is it Tifa that says this?"
Yeah, Tifa.
She goes, "Why don't you use that sailor suit for pajamas?"
Yeah.
And then they ask Cloud. I love it. They're
Yeah.
like, "Don't you think that he's cute in those?"
Yeah,
Sailor-
and you can respond to this, and you can say either "I guess" or like "Keep your mind on Sephiroth."
And frankly, if you say "keep your mind on Sephiroth," you're a cop.
Yeah,
And
you're a
that's-
fucking cop,
Yeah,
and you have no joy in the world.
yeah,
You only want to cause pain to others.
yeah. So
Yeah,
they're right. So they're
we
right.
all want to know what Sephiroth looks like in the sailor suit.
Oh, that's true. Keep your mind on Sephiroth in a sailor suit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if you say, I guess, I love it because Cloud goes, you look like a bear wearing a marshmallow.
Yep.
I love it.
So good.
It's so good. And he Bear gets all mad about it. And he's like, hey, I'll have you know that it just happens to be the most comfortable.
Which big Simpsons energy again. It's just like the very tall man driving the very tiny car.
This is the biggest sailor uniform I could afford.
He pulls down Cloud's pants and makes him walk through
Now
the Costa del Sol.
march.
He says, "Wave to the people, blow them kisses. It's that boy who laughs at everyone."
I like that. I like the back and forth, not back and forth, but like I would pass over it where Red just goes, can we hurry up? The heat's drying out my nose. I'd
Yeah.
pass over it except for the fact that Yuffie follows it up with, yeah, mine too.
Yuffie is so great, and like
I love it.
I love that there's not really like too much to do in this town. Like there's a lot of stuff that happens in some story elements, but
Yeah.
it's more or less just like an area before like the next big part.
Yeah.
But I love how much like characterization happens throughout the town, just with
Oh, yeah,
every
yeah,
individual
yeah.
person.
Well, it's cool because like here in a second, everybody's like kind of splits up.
yeah,
and we kind of get to
and
see what
they're
all about.
mingling. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And one thing that's really cool that I noticed is as everyone's like exiting the ship, Yuffie actually is like on the deck and just fucking jumps down.
Yeah, everybody walks out of the dock or the hold except for Yuffie.
Yeah, and she
Yeah.
just jumps and it's kick ass.
So
I love
good.
Yuffie so much.
And then Tifa and Eris comment that they're gonna go swimming, and then immediately like turn to Cloud and they're like, "Oh, what are you thinking about?" You know, I guess they're trying to be like, "Oh, are you thinking about us cute girls going swimming or whatever?" And I like the Cloud's just like, what does he say? He goes, "I don't have it." I guess he just doesn't say anything.
Yeah, someone, I think Cloud says like, we'll take a break and then head off, and then Barrett and says, "Don't wander off too far." And Barrett says, "I'll wander wherever I damn well want." Who made him the leader? And it's like, well, everyone kind of chose him
Yeah,
as the
I
leader.
remember
You were
that,
there
yeah.
for that, and you were really upset about it.
So good.
Oh, Eris asks, maybe I should get a tan for a change. Which do you like, Cloud? And you ask,
What? I didn't get that.
Oh wait, yeah, I think this might be maybe a version difference.
Oh, it
maybe.
could be. Yeah.
Yuffie says,
What
"Don't
is-
bother looking for me," and runs off.
Yeah.
But yeah, she asks, which do you like, Cloud? And he says, I like fair complexions, or maybe a healthy tan is nice.
Weird.
Wait, yeah. I guess that maybe like is the original PS1
Yeah.
version, which
And
is
then
like.
then Tifa says, I think I'll go swimming.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I
interesting.
didn't get that at
Yeah,
all.
me neither. That's very,
Very
interesting.
Maybe they just don't want to objectify her as much in the remake or
Maybe
the port.
so.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I haven't played this game at all. Like at all since the beginning of this. I don't even know what a Final Fantasy is. I've never played a video game in my entire goddamn life.
Fraud,
That's what makes you the true God gamer.
a fraud gamer.
Fraud
I am the
gamer.
ultimate gamer, for I have never gamed.
Okay, so we get free reign to run around a little bit here.
Yeah.
You're on
We're in the harbor area. There's like there's a helipad in the distance. We're just like right by the docks, and there's also like a little red plane, like one of those like weird
A Cessna, is that what they call it?
maybe an Adam Sessler, I think is what it's called.
I don't get it.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's one of those. A plane with like
You would know if you were a
water
gamer.
skids on the bottom. I like the soldier, the seaman that you talk to right outside of the boat or whatever, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh hey, you guys were stowaways, weren't you?" Well, that's all right. I'm used to them. And before I worked here, I was one of the best.
Yeah,
And
like,
I love that.
I want to see that guy's story. I think
Yeah.
I think he might be the guy who like sells you the drink or whatever.
Oh, he could be.
Because I mean,
Because he was real
a
chill
lot of people
about
died
it.
on that ship, like except for him.
yeah.
But
He
there-
was like fine.
There are a couple other people here.
There's two residents, I suppose, or maybe vacationers or whatever, of
Yeah.
Costa del Sol, which is where we are now. We're in Costa del Sol. That's the name of the town.
Yeah.
And they're on the plane, just hanging out, right?
Yeah, one of them is just a girl who's just laying like
on the wing of the plane.
provocatively on the wing of the
Yeah.
plane, and then there's just like a muscly like guy wearing a speedo like jumping around
Yeah.
on like the like legs of the plane that like keep like that
Yeah.
make it float.
And they're just like, they like see kind of what you all are doing, and they're like, look, it's got nothing to do with us. Don't bother us with this crap or
Yep.
whatever. I love it, dude. They are dedicated to chilling.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. All right, where do you want to go next? You talk about the guys on the helipad?
Yeah, yeah. that's-
Okay. So there's one sailor who's talking about President Rufus, who's just pissed at him.
Yep.
Because he's like, oh, I'm the same age as the president, but look at me, I'm a fucking shitty sailor, and he's the president. You know? But my favorite one is that there's a lighthouse in the background, and the Shinra manager that we've seen so many times before now in Midgar and in Junon, he's up on the top, and the sailor at the bottom's like, oh, he won't come down. I keep telling him to, but he's stuck up there, and he's just like screaming about the president the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. That dude, he's also going to have another hilarious scene coming up here in a second that I didn't notice for the longest time.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But I think that's about all we have to do here, right?
Yeah, so then we go to like the next screen and it shifts to like a different song. It's like that Shinra song again.
Yeah.
And then that helicopter that we keep seeing is flying in.
So this is the same screen that we were just on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The dock. It's just that we've left. Like our party members are gone now, and like right behind us comes this helicopter. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, the two of the sailors and the manager go to the helipad, right, to greet it.
Yeah, and they're like waving it in and stuff.
Yeah, and this is like I did not notice this for the longest time until I watched a speed run of it
Yeah,
one time and
yeah,
they pointed it out. But as the helicopter gets closer to the ground, the wind of the propellers starts blowing everybody, and everybody like takes a knee.
Yeah, they're like bracing
kneel and
themselves.
and the fucking Shinra manager gets blown out into the ocean by the fucking force of the propellers. It's so good.
It's very silly and very good.
Oh man.
So
Lord.
then out from the ship are Heidegger and Rufus.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They were on the ship, not the helicopter. The helicopter
Yeah,
came to
that-
pick Rufus up.
Yeah, the helicopter's
Yeah.
there to transport them to their next location.
That's
they
right.
they get off of the boat and I think Heidegger says, "Geez, what a long boat ride."
Yeah, Rufus says he heard that Sephiroth was on board, and that Cloud and the others were on board as well.
Yeah,
And then,
like the
Heidegger-
entire time Heidegger's like, "Yeah,"
Yeah, he's just like really,
Yeah.
he's sweating.
and it's like one of those moments where it's like, "Oh, so Sephiroth was on board, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he's like,
And-
"Oh, and I heard
and-
Cloud and his friends were on board
it's
too."
like
And he's
dot
like,
dot dot. Yes, yeah. And he says, "Oh, they all slipped through. You messed up big. You messed up big this time, Heidegger."
"Yeah,"
And he's
he
like,
messed
"Oh."
up Wedge this time.
He's like, "What?"
he says he's ashamed of
Ashamed,
himself,
yeah.
and then Rufus like
just gives it to him.
instantly owns him by being like, "Is that all you can do? Like, give one word answers and apologize for everything."
Yeah, and then he leaves him with "Do something. I'm expecting results."
Yeah, which is you can feel the pressure.
so good.
and he obviously can too because he just like reacts the way he has been.
Yeah,
at
as
everything.
soon as Rufus walks away, Heidegger does the thing where he runs at all the soldiers.
he starts I think he throws
he
two of the
throws two of
sailors.
them into the water.
Yeah, it's very
so good. Oh man!
So I was wondering, why was Rufus and Heidegger riding on a cargo ship after Rufus just got elected president, pretty much?
So I'm assuming that because while they were in Junon, he's asking Heidegger about like, oh, is the airship ready? Is the plane ready? Like none of these things are ready. All right, fine, we'll take the cargo ship.
Yeah,
so
Is what I was.
right,
I
the
think
ship is right. Gotcha.
there was like word that Sephiroth might be on the other continent, so they were like, oh, we got to follow him, we got to get to him. And the only way, like, they were like, oh, the Highwind's not going to be ready for 3 days, or the airship isn't going to be ready for 3 days. And
I also looked up something about that as well. We do eventually visit a crashed plane called the Gelnica.
Yep.
And but the Gelnica is just the name of the model of plane.
okay, so it might not even be the same one.
Yeah, so the one that was on the not helipad, the airport landing or whatever.
Yeah.
May not be the same one that we visit later. It might be, but it might not be.
I think we get the name of the weird. You said the Cessna, right?
The
little plane that's in the harbor here.
I don't think it's this one. I think it's somebody else's plane.
Yeah.
Later.
Right. No, I was.
And I'm not talking about the
something else.
Gelnica either. Yeah. Sorry.
We can cut that out.
So one thing you can do after so that's the end of that scene. Rufus gets on the helicopter and Heidegger freaks out.
And now you're in the town proper.
So you can walk back and talk to the Shinra manager. He's climbed back onto the dock, and he's just like, I'm gonna quit this company. Heidegger's an idiot. And
then, he like runs to the other side and is like screaming into the ocean.
And after he's done screaming, he just goes, "Oh, that sure felt good."
Yeah, which we can all relate to.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've all had days like that.
Yeah. So we do. Yeah, we walk into the town proper of Costa del Sol.
Wait, did you talk to the people on the plane again?
No,
because I think everyone gives you a little bit of different dialogue.
No, I didn't.
And the one guy has like real big like Jersey guy energy.
Jersey guy energy.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick.
Okay.
Hey, spread out, all of you out. Put any fingerprints, scratches, or dents on that plane, I'll put one in your head. The plane. That's
the plane.
That's something you'll never be able to do in your lifetime. So you watch from a distance and wish.
Yeah, and when he said like that's the thing that you'll never be able to do in your lifetime. Have you guys ever seen the video of like the Xbox Live message that the kid playing GTA got?
No.
Where he's like. He's like, yeah, you're just mad because I can do something with my guitar hands that you could never do in your fucking life, kid. And then he starts playing him at like a Metallica riff.
Oh, I have seen that. And it's like not. Yeah, it's bad.
It's like it's so good. I just got that like vibe from that guy.
That's
just when he's
incredible.
like, the plane, he's like, I'll put one in your head. Yeah. And when I read that, for some reason, I thought he was saying like a bullet, but I think he's actually saying like, oh, I'll put a dent in your head.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much else other than just like incidental dialogue and stuff.
The lady on the plane was like, he's quite handsome, isn't he? Oh, don't worry, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about President Rufus.
Yep.
Charming rich blonde, even looks good in a double-breasted suit.
Yep.
Even looks good in a suit.
Yep.
And the sailor's like, damn, I'm soaking wet down in my underwear.
Yeah. That's right.
Gross.
Because the Rufus went by, that's why.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oops, you must be those Avalanche guys. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, someone like knows that. I think it's the same guy who called you a stowaway. He like knows that you're Avalanche.
Oh, really? That's awesome. I love that he's just like super chill with
Yeah,
everything.
he's like, that's fine.
That's
I think,
cool.
Yeah, there's like a moment when he's talking to where I was like expecting Barrett to be like, oh, hey, you want to join up in Avalanche?
Oh, and then there's the guy running around who says, Rufus complimented me on my job. Wow, I guess it pays to do good work.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Fucking bootlegger. So we get into the town proper of Costa del Sol, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a little beach town. It kind of has like a Spanish vibe to it.
Yeah,
I would say. And when I say Spanish, I mean like Spain.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it's got like the what would you call this song that's playing? It's like a
bossa nova.
A bossa nova. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So it's.
Yeah.
So the first building that you can walk into is I think it's called the villa.
The villa is the one on the top floor, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you kind of come from the dock over like this little tiny bridge. It's not like a big bridge or anything like that. Yeah.
It's like a little
walkway kind of.
Yeah, and the first door you can go in is this villa, and if you talk to the guy who's laying in the bed,
there's a dude just laying on the bed.
Yeah, he's wearing like a suit and he's got like a fashionable scarf and like fedora on and shit. Yeah. And he's laying there, and he has some dialogue that he's just like, oh, this is a fluffy bed. Like, oh, give me 5 more minutes. And then after you talk to him enough times, he actually says like he's selling the place and that it used to belong to President Shinra, but it recently came back on the market.
Yep. I wonder why.
And
you can I don't know. You can't do it now, can you? But you can buy it eventually.
Yeah, I think you can. I think it gives you the prompt to.
Oh, really? But there's just no way to have that much money right now.
Yeah, so
I cheated, so I bought it right off the bat.
Oh, hell yeah.
So
There's nothing to do in
So
there.
you can turn this into Cloud's Villa, right?
Oh, is that what they call it?
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
I've ever actually done this.
Me neither.
I don't even know if I knew that you could do this until
Yeah,
like
you can
recently.
put the 1/35th size soldiers in this house.
In the house, yeah.
That's one thing you can do. But what I do like about it is that in the basement, there's a couple items you can get, like a fire ring.
A lot of the sources, I think, as well.
Oh, yeah, there's
or just the power
Tifa's
source.
motor drive is
Yeah,
down there, which is
which-
a weapon for her. And
It's a double AP weapon.
And there's just a guy sleeping on a desk down there.
Yep.
And like when you take an item, he like wakes up and he's like, "Oh, sir, I wasn't sleeping." Oh, he turns around and he goes, "Oh, those items are free. Help yourself."
Yeah.
But what I love about it is once you buy the house, he's still down there. He just
my
lives
God.
down there. So like,
It's kind of dark.
yeah, I know. I'm
Maybe
just like,
he's
well,
maybe he's a butler or something.
So yeah,
I thought maybe he works for whoever owns the
Yeah, could be.
house or something.
He's the property manager, I guess.
Maybe, yeah.
Groundskeeper.
Yeah. So if you didn't cheat like Alex, you can't really buy it now unless you did a lot of grinding because it costs 300,000 gil.
Yeah, it's expensive.
And so I did a bit of quick math, and that means that the President Shinra's villa in this like vacation town is like almost like 1/5 the cost of a mastered all materia. Because like a mastered all, I think you get 1.4 million.
It's nuts
gil.
how
it's
much
like
you get.
insane how much you get. So
Yeah,
like
you find a lot of them through the course of the game.
yeah. And I don't think we've talked about it yet because we haven't really hit it. But when you master a materia, it splits into a new one that starts at level 1.
I actually wanted to talk about that later. Actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead and talk about it now.
Yeah, we just got another weapon that gives you double AP growth.
Right.
So now's a good time.
So something I was going to bring up is that right when I left Costa del Sol, this happened to me. But I got the first level up on a materia that I've gotten in the game this far, and I got fire to level up.
Hell yeah.
And I got fire 2, right?
Oh yeah.
So the thing that we haven't really discussed is that like as you get that AP, and maybe we did discuss it, I'm not sure, but we'll go over it real quick. As you get AP, your materia levels up. And one of the things that happens is you learn additional spells.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the last game in the Final Fantasy series that the spells are just called the name and then a number.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So you have Fire 1, Fire 2, and Fire 3, right?
yeah.
And so I got Fire 2 now. So it's just a better version of Fire. It just
Yeah.
does more damage.
So they don't do the aura or the
They
aga.
don't, yeah, they don't do those in this one. That starts in 8.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one of the things you get for leveling up that materia. And yeah, when you get it all the way to master level, which is just the highest level it can get to, it splits into another one. You get an additional one.
And it makes it way more valuable. I think you can.
Oh, yeah,
So
gosh.
and a thing about all materia, every time you level it up, like it always has the same function. But
Right.
if you're in battle and you use a materia that's paired with all, you only get a single use to do it on all of them, and then you can only
Right.
use it single use after that.
Yeah.
But if you level it up to 2, then you get 2 uses on it, etc.
Yeah, right, correct.
So-
Yep.
And I think the same does that work with summons as well, where you can only summon them once per battle, unless you
until
level
you
it
get-
up.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think so. I'm
Yep.
not. I'm not entirely sure.
Because some strats later require that you level your summon up to 2 before you use it.
Oh yeah.
So you can use the W summon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, anyway. So that was a materia minute.
This was your materia minute.
Yeah. All right. So
I figure we should probably talk about the main street right now because there's a lot going on.
there's a
in
lot
the
of
main
goofy
street.
stuff we can kind of do
There's
here.
there's
yeah.
a couple buildings you can go in, so I think we'll come to those after we do everything just on the main street. If that works
Sure.
for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's that lady at the info kiosk.
Yeah.
Yeah, lady at the info kiosk.
Oh,
Do
it's
that.
also probably important to mention that if you go like east, right to the left of that kiosk,
You go to the world.
you're on the
map.
world map, which is good because it's worth saving here. I feel like
Yeah.
it's been a little while since you saved. You don't want to have to redo that Genova fight and see all those cutscenes over again.
You wouldn't want to have your Switch freeze on you and have to
Oh right, I forgot.
go all the way back to Junon and do all that again. Could you imagine if somebody had to do that?
That would never
we
happen
gotta-
to me.
We got a distressing text from Curtis where he's like, "Oh my god, I forget how far. How far did you get?"
I was actually past this. I was at Mount Corel.
Yeah,
and then it froze, and I was like, "No!"
I don't think I mentioned it, but my game froze on me when we were in the Shinra building, and I like forgot to mention it when we were talking about
Really?
that. But it was like right before I got to the elevator. I think right before like Rude,
Yeah.
like arrests all you guys or
Yeah.
whatever, and like I was on like 3 times speed, and like my game sort of glitched out a little bit. So like everything was still moving, the music was still playing, but
Yeah.
I couldn't do like I
Yeah,
couldn't
same.
move my character at all,
Same.
and I was just like, Shit. Like, luckily I just saved like the screen before.
You know what's interesting is it's happened to me twice now.
Oh, man.
Not during this playthrough. It happened once when I played through the whole game. Both times were on 3 times speed, so I wonder if it's something to do with that.
It makes sense. I mean, and maybe that's why they cut it off at certain places.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so. Yeah.
So anyway.
And then, like, to be fair, like, the Switch port is a very good port. I'm not trying to, like, rag on the Switch port. Like, I've played this game now for 70 hours on the Switch, and, like, it's happened twice. So, like, it's not too bad.
And it's not really, like, this game is pretty generous with save points.
Right.
At least at the...
No, I absolutely should have saved somewhere in between Costa del Sol and
until
Corel.
next episode.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fucking scam.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. So...
Yeah, so there's a girl at the counter, and I think she just kind of acts as like an NPC where you can get a little bit of information out of.
She tells you about the gold saucer. It says if you're rich, you should go there.
She asks you if you're rich, and you can say like, yes, I am, or like, no. Like, I forget the 2 options, but if you say yes, I am, she's like, oh, really? You don't look like it.
Yeah, that's so good.
And I think if you say no, she's like, yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah. But yeah, she does tell you about it and says it's a casino and amusement park, and who knows, we may see that later. Yeah,
she recommends Butch's shop if you need anything.
Yeah, right. So that's all. Yeah, so we kind of move on through Main Street. I like that there's the 2 girls walking Main Street or whatever. And they're like, there's only average Joes trying to pick us up over here. And they're trying to like go talk to dudes.
Yeah, they have like a whole like conversation, and like you have to get it in chunks because they kind of walk, and then like you can't just talk to them right as like you have to wait until they stop walking, and then they continue walking, and then you talk to them and you get a little more and a little more. Yeah. And they're basically just like trying to find guys, and they're like, oh, there's no real guys around here.
Yeah, right.
And then I think one of them's like, yeah, well, we could just lower our standards, and the other one's like, no, we do not compromise.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's really so good. So Red's out there. Yeah,
he found his cool place to rest.
He found like a little shadow that's kind of from one of the overhangs of the buildings.
Yeah, he's like next to a curb of one of the buildings.
Yeah, and his tail is wagging back and forth, and these little kids are kicking like a soccer ball over to him, and then like the involuntary motion of his tail kicks the soccer ball over to the other kid, and then they kick it back. Yeah. And he's like, I'm not meaning to do this, by the way.
Like, if you look at him, he looks like he's just playing
he's playing with those kids.
And then he's like, I'm not doing this.
On purpose. Like, yeah.
You see, this tail of mine moves quite independently of my will.
Yeah.
I like how, like properly, he's always talking.
Yeah. And I like the kids are just like, oh my God, that dog talked.
Yeah. They're like, it's cool, but kind of weird.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know, Cloud can kick the soccer ball.
Yeah, did you do that, Curtis?
I did not.
Oh yeah,
it's hilarious. You can just punt it right at Red.
Yeah, you just fucking bean him, and then he like has like a bark, and like he like gets up and does a bark animation. It's like like it's this weird noise. And then like when you talk to him, all he says to you is "grr."
Yeah.
You just punt Red with a soccer ball.
Oh, that's so mean. Yeah.
So
so I had Yuffie in my party, but I've played this before without Yuffie in my party at this point, and I like that she's working the store, like the little kiosk next to it.
It's so good. You just walk in, and she's like instantly there. There's the same sort of like shopkeeper model from Junon.
The Palmer-looking one.
We thought it was Palmer.
Yeah.
His name's Butch.
And it's Butch. Yeah. And he says, well, we're lucky to have that cutie working for us part-time.
Yeah.
And then if you go to the shop, you see like it's like this weird, like almost like a Volkswagen like bus sort of thing looking.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's like a food truck or something.
Yeah,
like
it kind of reminds me of a food truck.
A lemonade stand in front of it, and Yuffie's just behind the counter, like running back and forth. And you talk to her, and she says, Cloud, let me make a quick buck. Why don't you?
Right.
I'm selling materia. Why don't you buy some? So you can buy materia from her. There's nothing. I don't think there's any that we don't already have. So I didn't buy any. Also, I was like, no, I'm not gonna buy materia from my own party member.
Right. So I think that's all it's like happening on the outside of Main Street, right?
Yeah, she's
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy here who kind of gives you a good tip of he's trying to sell soft really hard.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
no pun intended there, but he's like, oh yeah, how about some soft, like as a memento of this wonderful trip made especially in Costa del Sol.
Yeah, as though there could be enemies coming up. That,
it's that thing again where it's like, maybe you should pay attention to what they're trying to sell you.
Right. So in the middle of the street, there's only like 2 buildings or 3 buildings you can enter here, right? With the exception of the villa. So there's kind of like a large opening right in the center of the street, and it kind of seems to be like the focal point of the town, and it's a bar, right? And so we go into this bar.
Yeah.
And there's like a whole bunch of people walking around in like, just beach attire, right? It's like a beach bar. There's surfboards everywhere. And
Yeah, there's two guys in like bathing suits talking to one another, and
I like that the two guys in bathing suits talking to each other are like, snowboarding is what's in.
yeah, well, the one guy is like, oh yeah, I'm sick of surfing. Now we got a snowboard. So they actually give a little bit more foreshadowing, and they say we're heading over to Gold Saucer now. Then we're gonna make a ton of money at the Chocobo races, and then we're gonna take a trip to Icicle Inn and snowboard.
Yep. First time we hear about Icicle Inn.
I love the very generic decor that's just like a neon sign that says beach
Oh yeah.
and a poster that just says summer.
Yeah, that
That's
summer
so
poster. I looked at it. I was like, that's definitely a Windows like XP background
right,
or something.
yeah,
It looks
palm
very,
tree on
like
the
yeah.
beach.
And then I looked up those backgrounds, and I think it just looks very similar to that.
Yeah.
And like there was that thing that we were talking about earlier where it
Yeah,
looks like
the Bliss.
the Bliss one, and I
Yeah.
was like, did these fuckers really just use those stock images for the
So
game? That would
good.
be awesome.
So we get a recurring character in here.
Yep.
And so we see Mookie for the second time, who is the big dude in the Honeybee Inn, which is our second episode.
Yeah, and he's got
Yeah.
great dialogue.
I know, yeah, absolutely.
There's our saucy masseuse from earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he says, I really like this town. You could walk around here naked,
Naked,
and
no-
no one would look twice.
I love it.
It's so good.
He's such a hero and an inspiration.
Yeah, and you can also talk to the bartender, and he just says the bar is called Bar del Sol.
Yeah.
Not very clever, but he says, "Welcome to Bar del Sol. Here's to tropical nights." And then like he lifts his hand, and there's a little clink noise.
Yeah,
So like he
yeah.
cheerses you.
Mhm. Cheerses.
Cheerses. Yeah, I
Yeah.
never know how to say that.
There's also a shopkeep in the bottom left that sells some armor. And
Oh yeah, I like that a lot.
yeah, and he just goes, "You have to buy from me, or else I can't pay rent."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, geez, well, all right."
And then there's one of the servers behind the bar who has very weird dialogue that I didn't understand.
That's 1, 2, ... 4 fishes all together ... not bad.
Yeah, what the fuck does that mean?
How many?
Well, she says, "Hey, I thought you'd drop by." That's 1, 2,
Yeah,
4.
and I think that is in reference to when you're walking by outside, there's like a window of the building that's kind of open, and she like runs up, and I think she might like blow a kiss or like does a little dance
You think that's
animation
her?
or something. I think it is because there's
Oh,
like
okay.
maybe, I don't know.
It looks just like her. I thought maybe when she says fish, I meant she baited you to come in. Maybe.
Yeah, no,
That's
that
what I
makes
was thinking.
that makes perfect
but I was
sense
like,
then.
"There's Cloud, and Barrett, and I guess
Yeah, you have a party of 3, so I don't know why it would be 4
Yeah.
fishes.
Oh, maybe it's just assuming you had a party of 4, or no, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't have a party
Yeah,
for.
I don't know. It's very weird. But it also makes me think of when Mo is counting the radishes in his thing, and he's like, sorry, Homer, I wasn't paying attention. I was counting these radishes. 1, 2, 3 radishes.
Yeah,
Three very large radishes.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that. Yeah.
So that's really all that's in here. There's a door to a house right next to the bar.
Yep.
We go in here and we get another recurring character.
Yeah.
Johnny
Our
is
old
back.
friend, Johnny.
Yeah. So Johnny was a citizen of the Sector 7 slums that commented on Cloud and Tifa's friendship at the very, very beginning of the game.
Yep.
He was also outside the Honeybee Inn. I think that was the last time that we saall him.
Yeah,
Is that right?
outside of Honeybee, yeah.
And so,
And it also it makes sense that people from like that area, like the Wall Market and like Honeybee Inn and stuff,
yeah,
you can actually go back to that area like after the plate falls and it's not affected. So it's like far enough away from the slums. That
Right.
So it makes sense that they all survived.
right.
Aside from those guys the ghosts that we saw last.
Yeah, right. So yeah, if you walk in there, he's very antagonistic as soon as he sees you. He just says, "What is with you?" And then after he says, "What's with you?" he says, "Hey, is it really you?"
Yeah.
And then he kind of goes into his past, his and your past.
Yeah.
And he says, "We were both in Soldier, and before that, we were childhood friends. You're such a playboy."
Yep.
Which, well, hold on. Let's go to the next line too. And a fucking murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But wait, which like. Again, Alex hasn't played the game, so I'm going to be very, like, sly with Carl right here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I don't know.
I don't know if that makes sense. I don't.
We'll have to
get
try
there
and
when
like,
we get there.
Yeah, when we get there, we'll try and make sense of it if we remember.
Yeah. But anyway,
It's funny that everyone projects this kind of personality onto Cloud without him having to like do any of the work.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like his mom does it all the time. Like
Well,
the girls must be crazy for you, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's part of it, right?
He just
Is that
seems
like
so indifferent the entire time.
yeah,
though.
we've had this like
I think it does make sense just because he's I'm assuming if they were childhood friends, they were from Nibelheim. But
Yeah.
who like I don't know.
Well, like
We'll
I don't
figure it
think
out.
we've gotten any. Like we have indication that there is like obviously Eris and Tifa in the party, right?
Yeah.
And so like, and I guess the fact that like Johnny was old friends with Tifa, right? Like makes him be like, oh, you're such a playboy or whatever.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I feel like we have pretty good indication that Cloud's kind of a nerd. Like he's kind of just
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
like he's buff as shit, as multiple people have been
Yeah.
like, damn, you look
As
good.
the
and all.
drill sergeant made very clear.
Right. So like obviously he's like a good looking dude and he's like kind of like an action hero type, but like he's very like yeah, he's like shy.
Yeah.
Right? Like Cloud's not ultra boisterous.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You don't really like even when his mom was like, "Oh, I bet the girls don't leave you alone." He's like, "I don't know."
I guess.
Like,
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
And he's so embarrassed about that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And like yeah. So
I mean, you can make him be like a total flirty like playboy if you want, but I never really
Yeah.
read his character that way.
right, me neither. But then Johnny tells us that he's going to turn over a new leaf, which
Yeah.
I assume means like a new leaf from being the type of dude who goes to the Honeybee Inn or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And but he also said like, "Oh, I can't remember your name," and you can say, "Who are you?" or "I'm Cloud," and don't forget it. And I think if you say,
Oh.
"I'm Cloud," and don't forget it, he says,
You think you're good enough to brag about how big you are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
he says, "Yeah, I don't want to hear it. No more complaining from me." And then he says he's going to turn over a new leaf. Also, like in this like small house that he's in, which I think is just called Johnny's house.
Yeah.
Johnny's new home.
There's
is
someone in the bathtub the whole time.
Yeah, and there's like a little like drip noise coming from the bath.
Yeah.
You can't see them. Like there's the curtain. You can kind of just see their head and see them like moving around and stuff.
But somebody's in there taking a shower or a bath or
And
something.
after after he says he's turning over a new leaf, that person says, "I'm sorry about that. He's had some big shocks and has been depressed lately."
Oh, okay. I was wondering who said that. I was like, where does that take? That makes sense then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
That
it's
makes
like
a lot of
whoever
sense,
was
yeah.
overhearing you in the
Because
bathroom.
the next thing Johnny says is go on and beat it.
Yeah, and he says like, "I'm happy like this, so keep out of my life."
Yeah, right. So,
I mean, to be fair, anytime he's like
when Cloud's
like,
around, he's
yeah,
always
like,
fucking something up. Yeah.
something shitty happens.
Yeah. And like we'll see here in a second too, like he obviously has a personal grudge against Cloud regarding
Yep.
one of our party members. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see that in a little bit. Did you go to the inn?
I did. And what does the owner of the inn mean when when he says, "Does your friend have a cute lady?"
Oh wait, I don't know if I got that. Who was so? First of all, who was in your party?
Barrett and Yuffie.
Okay.
Yuffie. Yeah.
Yeah, in mine, I had Tifa and Aerith.
Okay.
So I don't know if Aerith has an interaction thing that happens in this town, but I think depending on who your party
She
is,
does.
there's different things you can do. And maybe if you go outside of it and like change your party with the
The interaction with Eris happens after the beach scene. that
Okay.
We'll get to here in a second.
Okay, because there's an amazing moment with Barrett. in
I
the
know.
inn.
I didn't get this time, but I got it last time when he's
Yeah.
in the bathroom
Yeah,
and he's
so-
like, he has the sailor suit on.
So you walk into the bar or into the inn, and like the innkeeper is like by like a pool table off to the side, and you like walk forward a couple steps, and Barrett's dialogue just comes up and it says, and then like you keep walking around and you hear Barrett say, So like Barrett's making a lot of noise around here. And then you walk to the back of the inn and there's a bathroom, and Barrett is in the bathroom wearing the sailor suit that he hates so much,
Yeah.
apparently, that he like keeps telling people that he hates.
I
And he
know.
says, "Marlene, you okay? I'll wear this when I go to see you." And
I
then
love Barrett so much. He's so cute. I love
yeah,
it.
and if you try to go into the bathroom, it makes like the machine gun noise that always happens with it. And he says,
Yeah.
"Hey, yo, someone's in here, all right?"
Yeah.
And then you can talk to the innkeeper, and he says, "Ugh, I feel god awful. Oh, you weren't you with that big sailor?" And you can like feign ignorance and say like, "No, it wasn't me," or you can tell him like,
Yeah.
or you can say, "Dunno what you're talking about." And if you say that, he says like, "What's the matter?" And he goes, "Listen to this. A big sailor just busted in here all of a sudden and took over the restroom. He's been in there moaning ever since. I don't know what I'm gonna do. If you're checking in, would you please pay his bill too?"
That's so good.
Yeah. So and then like Barrett like runs out. Yeah, Barrett runs out and says something to Cloud, and then like if you lied to the innkeeper, he's like, "Wait, I knew you were friends with him," and and then in parentheses it says Fibber.
Yeah. That's so good.
So here you can rest, but don't do that yet because there's still like that'll trigger like the next event in this town, and there's something that should happen down at the beach.
Yeah, so let's go to the beach. So we walk out onto the beach, and all of our party members again kind of split from us so that we kind of see them all, right? And except for Red, who is not here on this scene for
Yeah.
whatever reason. So anyway, I guess maybe if he's in your party, he'll be there. But
I'm wondering if there's additional dialogue with him in your party, because there's
Maybe
a little
so.
bit of additional dialogue, I think, if Aerith is in your party.
well, I got that dialogue where she talks because she was just here.
Yeah.
When I came down here.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
she's a mandatory part of this scene then.
So our party members kind of like split away from each other. They're standing on the beach, and we see somebody, right?
Yep.
So there's this beach. There's several like reclining chairs and the little like parasol tables, right? And like a distance away from us is fucking Hojo.
Yep.
In a fucking reclining beach chair with like 3 girls around him talking to him.
It's so good. An interesting thing, I had Tifa in my party, and she says, look at that. And then it pans over, and you see Hojo surrounded by these 3 girls.
Yeah, yeah.
And you get a choice
So
here.
that happened in mine as well, even though I didn't have her in the party.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And it says who Hojo or the girl in the bikini.
Yeah.
And I said who Hojo.
Same. Yeah. I think I saw someone who said the girl in the bikini, and Tifa's just like, hey, take this seriously. And then
Right.
it just continues as normal. I think it probably has something to do with the affection thing.
Yeah.
But
And I like that Tifa's just like, go talk to him.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
tells you to do it. And if before you run over there, like I said, I didn't have Tifa or Eris in the party.
Mm-hmm.
So there's these 2 surfers on the left. If you go talk to them instead, like they see Tifa and Eris standing there and they're like, oh man, those chicks are hot. I'm going to go hit on the one on the right. And the other one goes, well, I guess I'll take the one on the left. And I'm like, ugh.
yeah, very funny. So they were both in my party, and I didn't get that dialogue, I don't think.
Okay, yeah.
But
I was like, "Bleh."
the one guy says, he, all the good ones are gone. What about that one? Shall we make do with her? Again, fuck these guys. They're
Yeah.
horrible. And he says, but she's got a guy with her. And he says, no problem. I can handle him. So I wasn't sure if they were talking about Cloud, which I don't think anyone looking at Cloud would be like, oh, I can handle that guy.
Right,
I got the
right.
impression that they were talking about Hojo, because like you look at Hojo and you're like, yeah, I can kick the shit out of that.
I was wondering
nerd.
if maybe that means it was Yuffie and Barrett standing there, and that guy's like, I could beat up Barrett, somebody who's like 8 times larger than I am,
Yeah.
and has a fucking pair of giant scissors for an arm or something at this point. Yeah. So yeah. So you walk over to Hojo, and I like to like. Because he's surrounded, you kind of have to talk to one of the girls around him first.
Yeah.
And she just goes, God, what do you want? Like, I love that fucking intro. And you can just say, like, is that Hojo or I want to talk with him?
Yeah.
And I just said, I want to talk with him. And she goes, hey, who do you think you are? And she, like, looks at Hojo and goes, Professor Hojo, that scary man says he wants to talk to you. And I love that we're a scary man.
Yep.
Like, and that's like again, we were kind of talking about, like, the way the game and the world perceives Cloud, right? And that
Yeah.
like he is kind of like this like nerdy, a little bit insecure dude, but he's like buff and scary as shit. Like
Yeah,
he's
like,
like a terror.
He was one of the strongest, like,
he was in Soldier. He's a
yeah,
fucking
he was
trained killer.
Yeah, like you don't want to fuck with him.
Yeah. And constantly through the game, you just get reminders. Everybody's like, "Oh shit, there's this really scary motherfucker running around. And they're
Yeah.
talking about you."
I think it's also important to note that Hojo is just in his like regular clothes. Like it's
He's
the
in
same
his
exact.
fucking lab coat.
He's laying on the beach with his fucking lab coat on, and he's not even paying attention. He
I know,
just says,
I know.
"I'm busy right now." So,
Yeah, I know.
Which later, after this interaction,
They mentioned it.
it says he never takes off his lab coat, even in this heat. I guess it's the mark of an intellectual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it so much.
I saw that and it just made me think that Hojo is like fucking Jordan Peterson. Like,
Oh, God,
'cause
yeah.
he's an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
and like we know that he's an idiot because like he took over. Like we know that he took over for the other like more brilliant
Yeah.
guy, and he hasn't really been doing as well.
Yeah.
And he's just like a fucking Jordan Peterson. Like, oh, you should be like the lobster. Oh, like, dude is just a bumbling
An all
idiot.
meat diet.
Yeah.
You should clean your room, Bucko.
I love that people call him the lobster guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
If
so
you don't know who that is, don't look him up because fuck that guy.
so Hojo kind of like leans up and he goes like, "Oh wait, no, I remember you all now." Like so he kind of like realizes who's
Yeah.
standing there talking to him, and he says, "It's been a long time, Cloud."
Yeah.
And like it's been a couple hours,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we went to Junon. We went through the mines.
We sailed across the world to the new
The
continent.
new continent that Cloud is from. But anyway,
We wrangled up some birds, fought a few giant snakes.
yeah. And I love that Hojo's next line is just, "Sometimes you just gotta do something like this." I'm like, chill. Love it.
He kind of reminded me a little bit of
Hojo's better than Peterson. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna say,
they're
come
both,
on.
They're both deplorable
Like-
pieces of shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But like,
Hojo would still lose a debate to Zizek.
I'm just saying.
Hojo has to talk about Marxism and doesn't do any research, and then he's like, I heard that Marxism is bad. And Zizek's just like, nah, you fucking idiot.
But I do like when they're like, what are you doing out here? He's like, oh, it should be obvious. I'm getting a tan.
Yeah,
like,
it should be obvious. Me wearing several layers and
Yeah.
long sleeves. I'm trying to get a tan.
Yeah.
I was also very confused by the fact that all these girls are like fawning over him. Like,
You know what? I love it because it makes no sense.
Yeah.
And that's what's fantastic about it.
Yeah.
Because he is a sickly, thin, like,
he looks,
rag of a
he's like a
man.
grown-up Mandark.
Yeah, he's like Mandark, yeah. And, like, he's just gross
Got
looking.
greasy long hair and
Yeah,
like
like,
beady little eyes or like little glasses.
and this
that-
big, like, very, like, protruding forehead, like.
yeah.
Yeah, and again, like, it looks very
He's a
sickly.
fucking nerd.
Yeah.
Cloud is a jock. Hojo's a nerd.
Maybe
And-
it's just some dad energy coming off of him. I
But
don't
like,
know.
but that's what I love about it is that they're just like, yeah, Hojo, you know? Because like, here's the thing, like, Hojo's kind of like he is a fucking absolute monster, but like,
Yeah.
he is a very successful and very wealthy scientist, right?
True.
Like,
Yeah, I guess he's probably one of the world's like most known people. So
probably
he's like a
so.
celebrity.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's probably what's going on there.
So you're like Elon Musk.
Ugh.
This is gonna be a real good episode. So anyway, so Cloud keeps pressing him, and he kind of, you know, like Hojo keeps kind of like deflecting the question, being like, "I'm just trying to get a tan, man. Leave me alone," you know. And so he finally is like, "All right, look, I think we're after the same goal here." And
Cloud says, "Yeah,
"Oh,
you mean Sephiroth?"
yeah."
And Hojo goes, "Did you see him?" And he
And then he pauses for a second, and goes, "I see," you know. And,
yeah, and then Cloud's like, "What is it?" And he goes, "Nothing. I just remembered a certain hypothesis."
and then some important dialogue that everyone should remember,
yeah, he says, "Haven't you ever had that feeling that something is calling you?"
or that you had some place to visit.
Yep.
Mm.
And Cloud just responds saying, "I'll go anywhere Sephiroth is at." And
God,
then
it's delicious.
to beat him and put an end to all of this. And Hojo goes, "I see. This could be interesting."
I know, I love it, and like
Hojo knows something.
And when the first time I played it, or like the first time I played it recently, I didn't even realize like
Yeah.
I know the plot of FF7, but I didn't realize how much that like they're like just throwing the plot of FF7 at you.
Yep.
Shh, don't listen to that.
Yeah, don't
But-
look into it too far. Don't think about it too hard.
Yeah.
But on a second playthrough, that has a lot more gravity than.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So,
then
and then Hojo says, "Were you in Soldier?
yeah.
Would you like to be my guinea pig?"
Yeah, and then Cloud kind of goes into like a stance here.
Yeah, like he's
gonna kick
like
his
squaring
ass.
up.
Yeah, and Hojo says, "Oh, now what? Are you gonna draw your sword?" And Barrett stops Cloud, and he goes, "Yo, it would be a bad idea to kill him."
Oh yeah, so Aerith was on my team, so she said, "Cloud, don't. If he dies, we won't find out anything."
Oh, okay.
And Hojo just laughs and then says,
And then talks to Eris, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And he says, "Aren't you the ancient?" And I like that Eris is just like, "I'm Eris. The least you could do is remember my name."
Yep.
Everybody who's listening to our podcast.
Shut up. If you look at my screen here, she says, "I'm Aerith. The least you can do is remember my name." So fuck you. Yeah. So she says, "I want you to tell me something." I almost said President Hojo, Professor Hojo. "I know I'm an ancient. My mother told me." And he says, "Your mother? Oh, you mean Ifalna? Is how you say that?"
Yeah. That's how I
He
say
says,
it.
"Oh, you mean Ilfalna?
Ifalna. Yeah.
Ifalnith." And he says, "How is she?" And she says, "You didn't know? She's dead, or she died." And
Yeah.
he says, "I see." And then she says, "Professor Hojo, is Genova an ancient? Is Sephiroth an ancient? Do we all have the same blood?" And he just
Starts mumbling off and trailing off.
and he says, "Head west."
Yeah, he just says head west. And then like Eris is like, he's mumbling. That must mean he's hiding something. And like, you know, everybody starts
Yeah.
shouting at him.
And then he just says like ... Like he's
Yeah.
just done. Like he's just mumbling. He's like, "Oh, you should head west."
Right.
And-
Cloud says, "It's no use. Let's go."
Yep. Which, in true me form, I just heard something. When he says "it's no use," I just heard Silver the Hedgehog. I think it is in Sonic.
Oh yeah.
It's no use.
Yeah. So that's all of our interaction here. Like Alex was saying, we get the comment where they're like, "Oh, he never takes his lab coat off,
Yeah,
even in the
he's
heat."
an intellectual.
What an
He's like,
intellectual.
"Oh, women are chaos and
Ugh.
men are great." Ugh.
You don't need to look up who that is with our podcast. Now you have the whole gist of it.
Yeah.
Do you ever read the Da Vinci Code?
I like that there is a person swimming in the beach here.
It's really good.
That is like their head is submerged underwater while they're swimming, and if you talk to them, they say breath. It kind of takes your breath away. And I'm like, very nice.
Foreshadowing for the underwater material.
No, yeah. If he had the underwater material, he would have been able to swim the whole time.
Yeah, you can also talk to one of the other girls, and she says, "I'll interpret Professor Hojo's whispers. Head west, past Mount Coral, and keep going."
Oh, I didn't talk
Yeah.
there. Wow.
So, I mean, the game's telling you to head west, like very specifically. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, go to Gold Saucer, go here." Like they're telling you exactly
Yeah.
where to go. So if you didn't get that enough, it's still saying like, "Oh no, you got to go west."
Yeah.
There's not many options of places to go once you leave the city anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she says, "Did you get that? I didn't understand it well myself."
So after this,
Wait, did you see the other thing that the other girl says?
no.
She says, "I'd be happy to be a guinea pig if that's what."
Oh,
if
I
it's
did
for
see that.
Professor Hojo.
I did see that. Yeah. So after this, we basically are just gonna go back to the inn,
Yeah.
right?
Aside from the guy who also says, "Hey, get a soft,"
Yeah. Right. Right.
like
yeah.
the other guy on the beach, the other piece of shit on the beach.
Yeah. Those guys. But Eris was in the inn when I went back.
Did you go to the inn or did you go to Johnny's house again?
Oh, I did both. Yeah. But so I talked to Eris first because she was in the inn, and she's laying on the bed and kind of having like a bunch of doubts and like wondering who she is and everything.
Oh wow, I didn't get this.
And she asks Cloud, she says, "What do you think of me?" And your options are I don't know or nothing much.
Oh,
and I was like,
man.
neither of those are great.
Yeah.
But I said I don't know, and Cloud says I don't understand anything, which is like better than I don't know. And I was like, oh, you're right. I don't even understand myself. Like, and she says, like, what part of me is an ancient? What is an ancient supposed to be like? Isn't that strange? And so she's just having a bit of a existential crisis. But yeah, so going back to Johnny's house,
I actually missed this because I just went straight to bed.
really,
Yeah,
And
and also if you go to bed before going to the beach, you miss everything with Hojo.
no shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
like I was watching a Let's Play of it as well,
Yeah.
and like the guy went down to the beach, saw Hojo, and then was like, "I need to save," and then he went to the inn. He's like, "Oh, there's probably a save point in the inn,"
Oh man.
and went in there. He's like, "Oh, I'll rest because my characters are like beat," and then
Yeah.
like, he missed that entire part.
Oh man, that sucks.
Gee whiz.
Bummer.
So yeah, so if we go back to Johnny's house, Tifa's in there because again they're all childhood friends, so we get the feeling that like Cloud, Tifa, and Johnny all knew each other from Nibelheim, right?
Yeah.
And Tifa and him are talking to each other and having a good time. And like as soon as you walk up on them, Tifa's like, "Oh, Cloud, would you mind leaving us alone for a little while or for the rest of the day? We haven't seen each other for ages, and sometimes it's fun to talk about old times for a change." And I love that like Cloud, like again, like kind of everybody's saying like, "Oh, Cloud was a part of the clique, right? Like he was a
Yeah.
part of that group." And then here they're like, "Hey, sometimes you just want to talk about old times with people, but not you.
Yeah.
Even though you were there,
Right.
leave us alone." Which again, purposeful foreshadowing, or is it just like a weird thing that kind of fell through and we're extrapolating too much
Yeah,
from?
I don't know. We're gonna have to talk about that later. I completely missed that part too because I had Aerith and Tifa in my party. So probably the thing that I should have done was probably take everyone out of my party except for Cloud,
Oh,
so I could see
yeah.
all of these things. But that's really cool.
And then if you talk to Johnny after she says that, he says, "Yeah, don't get mad." And I'm like, "Johnny, fuck you." But so then after we go to the inn, is there anything you wanted to talk about before the end?
I think that's everything that we
Okay.
can do right now.
I don't want to. We'll pause after we leave Costa del Sol. So after we go to the inn, if you come back the next day and talk to Johnny, he's sleeping on his bed and he mumbles to himself in his sleep.
Yeah.
Tifa, promise me you're gonna be happy.
Yeah.
And so like again, like he kind of called Cloud like this playboy and everything, and you're like, oh, Johnny really had the fucking hots for Tifa when they were younger. He like super crushing on her and has been forever. Because like every time he sees you, he's always like, I thought you were with Tifa. Where's Tifa at? You know, all the time. Which is why he's such a dick to you, because like you show up to the Honeybee Inn of all places
Yeah.
with a different girl, and he's like, what the fuck? You know?
Yeah,
So
and,
he's
he,
like,
and he calls you out for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
kind of like one of his big things against you. If you go to the beach after this too, there's a girl on the beach who says, yesterday a man with a black cape came up from the ocean. And I'm like, came up from the ocean? Sephiroth was just like swimming or walking on the fucking ocean floor. Like,
Yeah,
could you
when-
imagine sitting on the beach and then just fucking like this dude with a giant katana and a full black uniform,
Like an X-Men.
yeah, just
Yeah.
like walks up out of the water.
What, like the senator from X-Men that explodes into water?
Yeah.
I'm glad your mind went there because my mind just went to the Simpsons thing where Skinner just keeps walking.
Yeah,
towards
the
Bart,
Terminator.
goes
Yeah.
into the river, and then like the music stops, and then he comes up through.
I know you skipped yesterday, Bart.
He's some sort of not give up guy.
Yeah, right. Sephiroth is absolutely some sort of not give up guy.
So is
Oh, and then
this
she says he had tickets for the gold saucer. 2 questions. How did you see tickets for the gold
Yeah.
saucer on his body? B, why like if Sephiroth can just walk from place to place like through oceans, does he need to buy tickets for the gold saucer?
Yeah. And then she also says like, "Oh, maybe it was an illusion."
Nah.
Nah, definitely.
Nah.
not.
So is this
All of
imply-
that totally happened.
So is this to imply that when he flew off, that he just kind of just ended up in the ocean?
Yeah, that's
He
what
jumped,
yeah.
he jumped
He
overboard.
He jumped overboard, yeah, because where else would he have gone? He
Which
just
is weird because the whole reason that Rufus and Heidegger is over there because they heard Sephiroth that's already at Costa del Sol.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Right?
Yeah.
well, that's also going to be a plot
Yep.
point
Oh.
coming
Yeah,
up as well.
that gets more things come of that.
Yeah.
In a little bit. So we'll talk about that when we get there.
So that's all I have for Costa del Sol.
I have a little bit more.
You son of a bitch!
There's a lot of good stuff actually.
All right.
So after you like rest at the inn and you're ready to head out to the next place, you can actually interact with everyone that you talk to, and they all have like different bits going on.
Okay.
So since you mentioned Sephiroth in the ocean, I was very confused because that little girl who was playing soccer with Red, she says
Football for our international listeners.
football. She says something weird about seeing a creepy guy in the ocean who was like, I think she said he was beckoning to her, and I was like, what the fuck is that about? And then I went to the beach and talked to the girl who was like, oh, the man in the cloak, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit,
God, he's so creepy. Sephiroth is such a fucker.
very very creepy.
Because could you imagine, like, think back to when you were a child, like, being on the beach, like, at night, and then fucking a dude with, like, long white hair and a black cape and a sword comes up out of the water and is like, come to me. Like,
up out the
fuck
water.
this. Yeah, come up out the water. It's, like, very, like, goosebumps. I don't like it.
Come, milady.
Yeah,
Come,
she says
milady.
a creepy man was signaling for us to come. I was scared to come here.
Wow.
But even better than that, the innkeeper has some great dialogue
Yeah.
where he says, your party has departed. Uh-oh, that's bad luck. I meant your party has left.
That's amazing.
I'm
but-
afraid he's moved on.
To another room. Yeah. It's like the Arrested Development doctor, yeah.
Yeah.
He's all blue.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, man. If you go to Butch's shop, let me pull up the actual dialogue.
Oh, right. Oh, right. She says, you got me there. We hired her part-time. She ran off with our money and materia.
Yo, you would be so good.
He's just hustling completely.
She ran
It's
off with
so
the
good.
money and materia. That's so good.
If you only went to ziprecruiter.com.
One of the girls on the beach talks about Rufus a little bit, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's the president's son. We used to call him the Little Prez."
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did read that.
Yeah,
Little Prez, not Prez Jr.
Prez Junior Junior.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you go to the chair that Hojo was in, there's a girl in it
Yeah.
now, and she says that Hojo discovered something or found a solution to something and left. And then she has like dialogue about being sad about it.
Aw.
Yeah,
Well, all right. So that's Costa del Sol.
that's about it.
Hell
If-
yeah.
so-
Do you guys want to retire to the inn ourselves?
Oh yes.
Yeah, I'd like to take a rest.
Let's do it.
Oh yeah.
Night-night.
So I think it's time to talk about the most important part of this entire episode, and that's the Grangalan.
Oh yeah, the Grand Galan.
The Grangalan.
Oh, Black Betty.
Okay, so
Grangalan.
Duran.
Duran. So when we walk out of Costa del Sol, we are
heading west.
on like a little peninsula, essentially, right?
Yeah.
We're heading west
Consult the
towards some
map here.
mountains, and we can get into some random battles in what the game calls the Corel area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's an enemy that's called the Grangalan, and we did a lot of research into it, trying to figure out like how we should pronounce it, and looked up the Japanese for it, Gudan,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just so we're just calling it the Grangalan. Which I love is like the most like American pronunciation of it.
Yeah.
And therefore the correct one. USA.
My grand glands.
My grand
My
glands.
grand glands.
So describe this enemy.
So it looks like an egg, like one of those like plastic Easter egg things that has like 2 eyes on it and like a dumb face.
Yo, the
It's
colors
like
of it,
brown.
it really, to me, the colors of it and like the texture on it really makes it look to me like it's wood.
Yeah.
Like polished wood.
Yeah, like well constructed, like carpenter made egg.
Wooden
wood.
egg.
Wooden
Yeah.
egg.
With like big eyes on it, yeah.
So you fight this thing.
It looks like a bee themed like Cadbury egg.
Ooh, I could go
Yeah.
for that. A little honey in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would make it better. It probably wouldn't. I'll try and get back to y'all next week.
Nah.
We're gonna make our own granglans.
Oh my gosh. An Easter episode, we make Grand.
Oh man. So you attack this enemy, and it's kind of a. Let me see how much HP it has. Because
550.
550 HP. So it takes a couple of hits to take this thing down, and
Yeah.
when you attack it like up to a certain percentage of its
Mm-hmm.
health, it kind of just opens its mouth, and out comes a
smaller
Grangland
one.
Junior.
A Grangland Jr. It's a smaller one.
Mm-hmm.
And
And I think when that happens,
it
you
has-
can no longer attack the main one that you were just fighting. It's like in the back row, but I don't think
know.
you can actually hit it. You have to take
yeah.
the one out in front of it.
that one has 330 HP. Mm-hmm. And then when you get it down to a certain percentage, 3 tinier ones pop out of it called Grangland Junior Juniors.
Which is how the term junior works.
You're right. You just add successive juniors onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not too much to say about this fight other than that amazing mechanic. I farmed the hell out of them for
Really?
Matra materia to get
Oh, okay.
the extra limit breaks for Tifa and Aerith.
Okay, yeah.
So that was great. But it's, yeah, we love the Grangalan.
yeah. It's such a good
It's
enemy.
like a Russian nesting
It has
doll.
like, and like, the face isn't what I would call cute necessarily, because it's very like, it has this like vacant stare, and it has
Yeah.
like dark black eyes.
Like if you
But,
saw
like,
this
they're
shit in real
large,
life, yeah, if you saw it in
and
real life, you'd be terrified.
I think if you saw it in the daytime and it wasn't as large as it was, because
Yeah,
it's huge.
If it was small, if it was the junior we're talking about, then it would just be a cute little
as heck.
friend.
That's a pet that you take home and you have and hold forever and you love.
Yes, absolutely.
And one day you put down with the sodium pentothal
Apparently-
at the vet. Wait, sorry, go ahead. What?
Oh no, you can go ahead.
No, I don't want to.
Okay. Well, I was about to say if you apparently in the battle, if you beat the biggest one, the smaller ones perish as well. I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think you might be able to hit it with magic or something.
even
but-
even
Right.
Obama can't save those ones.
Perish.
They perish. Right.
So while I was doing this, I was like, I know those things as Russian nesting dolls, and I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know if that's like the proper term. So I was looking that up, and I think I saw Matryoshka
Matryoshka, yeah.
dolls, but also known as babushka dolls,
Ooh.
which I never knew, and I'm gonna just start calling them babushka.
How do I know
dolls.
that word? Because there is a Hatsune Miku song.
Oh
called that.
hell yeah!
Boom.
She made
Hatsune
Minecraft.
Muki.
Yeah, Miku, the inventor of Minecraft. So the next area that we can go to, or do we anything else on the world map? I think.
We head through the hills.
Yeah, they're on the beach. That's where you farm with the manipulate thing that we've talked about like 3
Okay.
times now at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about it.
Cool.
So you head west.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at the world map in my direction, so I actually kind of headed south.
yeah.
And there's like a little river there that has
Right,
like
that you can't
slightly.
pass.
Yeah, you can't pass it, but in the distance you see this big structure.
Yeah, this big golden structure that looks like a bunch of mushroom clouds stacked on
Yeah,
top
it
of
looks
each
like
other.
a weird, like very like cylindrical pyramid, like a
A cone, you might say.
A cone. Exactly. I need to put that on right now because I forgot what a cone was, and now I need to wear one because I'm a fucking dunce. Yeah, so there's a cone and then little like mushroom-looking things
Yeah.
branching off of it.
Yeah.
So we see it in the distance, and it's huge, and it looks like it's
Sticking
surrounded.
up out of a desert.
Yeah, it's surrounded by a desert, and we can't make it there, so we kind of turn around, and up this little cliff, we see this little like
Winding
earthen
pathway.
path.
And what I like about it, this specifically, is like every other area in the game thus far. If the game is going to try to convey to us that we're in a cave or that we're in a mountain or something like that, there's a symbol for it on the world map. And what I like about this at first is that it is just a mountain pathway on the world map.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't gone into a different area. We're traversing it, like the mountains on the world map. Very cool. I thought that was really neat.
It's a nice little tonal shift, and you can see like a nice like waterfall if you're like looking as you cross this like weird like bridge portion of the path, and you feel like you're really just going through mountains in this on the world map.
It's very neat.
Yeah.
Until we get to the end of it, and then there absolutely is a little icon that says, okay, now the rest of the mountains will be inside of a different instance.
Yeah, we see a little cave, I think, right?
It is. It's a cave icon, which once we go into it is not a cave.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just more path.
More path, yeah. So we actually go into a different area now. And I like this this first and second screen, because like the music playing right here is very like peaceful, but it has like a little bit of a sense of wonder to it, you know?
Yeah, I think it's
like,
that Dear to the Heart song playing again.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Like
it's very like you said, peaceful.
Yeah. And there's like a little mountain path that we're essentially climbing up.
Yeah. And
there's some like trees and greenery on it, and it's like it's cleared, right? And so that's why like it has this very like a nice little nature path, very natural area. Like it's nice. Yeah. And there's an old man sitting on the ground, about halfway up the first screen, who says, "Oh, you're actually talking to me." Yep. And Cloud's like, "Oh, well, you know, what's weird about that?" He said, "What is it?" And he goes, "Oh, well, I just passed a guy in a black cape up there. I had tried to tell him it was dangerous, and he ignored me. And I had Yuffie in my party, and she says, 'Oh God, what a drag.'" And it's God, G-A-W-D.
Oh God,
again.
I love that she says God.
Yeah. And that's really the only interaction with that guy, I believe. Who's just, he tells you if you see travelers on your way, tell them hi, because that's just the rule of hiking.
Yeah, it's just a nice thing to do.
He's a nice old man. Yeah,
Alex, be sure to do that while you're on tour next week.
Okay.
Which by the time you hear this, listener, it will have been last week.
Yeah, he'll have already been back.
Yeah. What's also cool is at the top of both of these screens, you can kind of see the sun setting in the distance.
It's very nice.
And like they do it in such a way like that your eyes kind of would really handle it, where when Cloud walks in front of the sun, you can't see Cloud anymore because he's right in front of the friggin' sun.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams did this part. There's a lot of lens flare.
Right. Yeah, and so the further you go up, the less greenery there is.
It's still peaceful, but everything's
nice.
Getting more rugged, and then you get to the top of the next screen, you still see the sun, you see it more, it's like less over the horizon now, it's kind of in the sky.
Yeah.
That same effect, but it's blocking out a little bit of a old and withered and dying tree.
Right. And I wonder if there's anything that could possibly be causing that tree to wither and die.
Yeah.
Oh shit, the next screen.
Complete shift.
Complete
it's
shift.
Playing the Shinra Company music again that
There's
we've heard that just is very ominous.
A giant fucking Mako reactor just dug right into the middle of this mountain.
Yep.
Right? Like, it looks like all around it on all sides are different little peaks, and it seems like they just blasted several peaks away and just put this giant Mako reactor in.
Yep.
And it goes like, and it's dug down into the ground, right? Like, there's like you can't see the bottom of where it goes, you know, like in the middle essentially is the reactor, and then the structure that's built around it is like a giant pit, right? And like at the bottom of this pit, there's like glowing green lights.
Yep.
And very, very industrial and
very depressing.
Very depressing, very menacing.
Also, this is something that I wanted to bring up in Junon, but completely forgot about. You can see on the front of the Mako reactor is the Shinra logo.
Yeah.
Which when I saw it in Junon, I was like, why the fuck are all these Dietz and Watson?
I said something in the very first episode. I was like, oh, it looks like a brand of like a meat or something, and I couldn't think of what it is. It looks like the Dietz and Watson meat logo.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just saw that all over the place, and then I actually looked up the Shinra logo, and you can see it when it's not in like the old PS1 graphics, and it's just the exact same. It's like the red diamond shape.
Yeah. It's so good.
Or maybe they're just sponsored by Dietz and Watson. Dietz and Watson is the greatest monster in the Final Fantasy universe.
Sponsor us, Dietz and Watson.
I'll eat some meats on the podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say as a vegetarian, all. So yeah, and like, so we walked on a little catwalk to the reactor proper, I suppose. It's all one screen. We don't we don't really go in depth.
Yeah, there's random encounters here. But it's more OSHA violations. You have to walk across like a rope bridge.
Right. Yeah, and then coming from the front of the reactor are train tracks, right?
Yep.
Like they actually.
Oh, that's what that is. It's not a rope bridge. It's train tracks.
They actually go into the entrance of the Mako reactor, and like directly from that gate on the entrance, the tracks just start right there. So they could like ship something into the Mako reactor. They could take something out of it on train car the whole way, right?
Yep.
But it's closed. We can't go into it, so we're actually gonna continue.
We can't blow this one up.
Yeah. So we're gonna go, and there's also a little cliff
Yeah.
overlooking it as well. Nothing's up there.
Yeah, I went up there. I found that weird. I can't remember if this is a place that you
Yeah.
end up later or anything, but there's like another entrance. Like if you have the icon on showing you where you can go, when you get down to the, like
I was
to the
gonna
next
say, when
screen,
we go to the
you
next
can
screen,
actually go up to this little cliff that has like more railings around it. But there's nothing up there.
Yeah, this next screen, after we walk away from the reactor a little bit, it seems to me like they may have meant to have other areas you could go to from here, because there's also what seems to be another exit to it along a mountain path, but it just doesn't go anywhere, even though it goes it goes to the edge of the screen.
Yeah, I went up there too, and it looks exactly like you're saying, like another place that we could go, and it doesn't have one of those indicators that say you can go there, and it's just a dead end.
There's also an enemy called the Cockatolus.
Yeah, and those things are real fuckers, I think.
That's why you would want to buy the soft, right?
Yeah, so it has like Petrify Mist or something like that. That's a thing that casts Petrify on you and gives you a 30-second timer that I think is completely independent of like the weight mechanic that we were talking about. It just keeps ticking down.
Yep.
And when it hits 0, your party member is petrified.
Right.
Which isn't a death condition unless everyone is petrified.
If everybody's petrified,
then you get a game over.
Yeah. So what it is essentially, it is, the way I see it as far as mechanically goes, is that it is the KO state. But once you are healed from it, you are at whatever HPMP you were at before it.
And you can still get attacked. I think.
Can you get? I don't think
maybe
damaged.
not. I don't think things
so.
don't.
Yeah,
I'll try that eventually with manipulate.
Okay, yeah, but whereas when you're KO'd, your HP is at 0, and when you're healed, it'll be a smaller amount.
Yeah.
Or whatever method you're using to heal that person up with will determine their new HP value. So this is kind of, to me, this is just putting you in a like stasis KO state of like you're down, and if everybody's down, then game over. But your HP MP is still where it was when you're healed from it. Right? And maybe your weight bar as well, and your limit as well.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing that's important to note about this is after the battle, if you're still in that petrified status, you don't gain EXP or AP.
Oh, yeah.
So I think you even get the animation like you won the battle.
Yeah,
and like
you just
it doesn't continue itself after.
This game is very generous about healing your status effects after battle.
Yeah, because like if you're poisoned in battle, it doesn't. I think after
you
don't need to use an antidote while you're in the field, and same thing with Petrify. I think it just prevents you from gaining any experience from the battle.
Interesting side note: do you know about blind in this game?
I don't think so.
Okay,
that's the boss from Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, right?
That's the first single from Korn, author self-titled. So blind is a status effect that can happen. Since we're talking about status effects, it's the Carcassolius doesn't do this. You're right. Status hour. So if you're inflicted with blind, what happens is that it reduces your accuracy.
Yeah.
So you just start missing the enemy, right? And like enemies can also be given status effects, right? Like Cloud's second limit break causes paralysis.
Yep.
So you can give enemies blind. For whatever reason in FF7, they didn't program blind in correctly, so that if you get blind, you will miss. And if you give an enemy blind, it does nothing.
Oh, wow.
So you can't blind enemies in this game. Like, you can give them the status effect,
it just
but
does
it does
nothing.
not. It does
Not
nothing.
No,
Yeah.
weird.
So this is one of the weird things about this game.
That's really cool. I never knew that.
Yep. So the correct way to go from here is to continue walking down the train tracks.
Yep.
And we get to like the train tracks now go out over like a chasm.
Yeah.
Right. And it looks almost more like a roller coaster,
it
like a
literally
wooden roller
becomes
coaster.
a roller coaster. Yeah.
Yeah.
A 2-track roller coaster with some going up and then some going down.
Yeah, and like up at these giant pitches, you know, like it's really wild.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah, very Donkey Kong.
Yep. And it is not stable.
No.
So
Surprise.
I'm curious, what did you do when the tracks get a little unstable?
So I had watched a Let's Play before I went through this part.
Yes.
And so I knew what to do and I did it. But I feel like if I was playing blind, no pun intended, I would have probably hit A. Because
it tells you to hit A.
It tells you to hit A to jump.
Yeah.
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 And
it does nothing. I'm just pounding the A button, and I still fall.
Oh, really? Because
Yeah.
I think you can actually like jump out of it. I think, and then you don't fall into this weird little mini game that has some
I
treasure.
fell into, and I went into the mini games because I knew there was treasure, but I was also trying to like not fall into it.
Yeah.
But even though I was smashing A, I still fell in
Weird.
every time.
Maybe
I was
it
like,
doesn't-
why?
Yeah, maybe that doesn't work.
I don't know. I thought it was very weird.
But anyway, it leads to this weird mini game where you see Cloud falling, and then it gives you like a little dialogue option, where it says like, "Oh, hold left or right while repeatedly pressing A,"
Yeah.
and then you'll see Cloud falling, and you just
he
kind
tries
of
to
like
swim through the air. Yeah.
You like swim, and you can go either to the left or to the right, and if you
Right.
don't go far enough, you're just in the center. So there's these 3 lanes. And
Yeah.
the center one is just the default one if you don't do it correctly.
Yeah.
And you just climb back up.
Yeah, you kind of fall to a certain point, and then Cloud Cloud grabs onto the scaffolding that keeps the tracks up, and like kind of saves himself, and then
Yeah.
begins to just climb back up.
Yeah, and when you're climbing up, I think what's kind of like intended to happen if you're doing this just as a first playthrough is you fall down the middle one
Right.
and see that as you're climbing up, there's item bags on the left and the right. So then the next time this happens, you're prepared to actually like do this game.
Not me.
Yeah, it's still
I'm still
really
confused.
difficult. But when you fall, if you like mash enough and hold whichever direction, if you go to the left, you get the wizard staff.
Yeah.
Which is Aerith's double AP weapon. And if you go to the right, you get another star pendant, which I
Right.
think is the poison thing, right?
Yep. We already have like 3 of them at least. in
Yeah,
this game,
and you
so-
can buy them, so it's kind of...
Right. So on
And
one
that happens 3 times, I think, while running through.
Yep. So there's also some various treasure on the tracks, and one of the tracks, the track in the back, is just broken all up,
Yeah.
right? Like there's places in it where you can't get past.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to use the other track to kind of walk around and go get the items.
Yeah.
And there's one of Barrett's weapons, the W machine gun.
Uh-huh.
W again.
Yeah,
Double machine gun.
the double machine
Yeah,
gun.
double machine gun. And there's a turbo ether and the transform materia.
Yep.
So, nothing giant. Turbo ether's not, that's dope.
Turbo ether is pretty good. There's also an enemy that you can run into here that I think you can steal a turbo ether from.
Oh, really?
But it's not worth it because it's very hard to steal from it.
And I didn't really use turbo ethers in my last playthrough either.
Yeah.
I feel like that was pretty rare. That I needed.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
ethers can kind of be beneficial here because I feel like you have to use magic a lot more in this section, or
Yeah.
like heal, and you might have gotten...
Put it this
like,
way, I never got to the point where I felt like I didn't have enough in stock
Yeah.
during the
Oh,
game.
yeah,
Like I never got to the
absolutely.
point where I was like, oh man, I'm running low on ethers. I need to buy some ether.
Yeah, and they're pretty cheap. I mean, turbo ethers might not be, but you
Yeah.
can just buy a lot of ethers. Like, I sold a bunch of ethers
Yeah,
to
me
try
too.
and buy something, and I was like, wait, I don't actually need this.
Eh.
I did the Curtis strat of selling the stolen ethers.
Yeah. That's every time I get ether, I'm just like, oh, more selling items because they sell for a lot.
Yeah. Oh,
And
the
Enemy.
yeah. So the enemy that you can steal a turbo ether from is called a search crown, and this thing, I fucking love this thing.
Is that the little mushroom with the teeth on the front?
Yeah, so it's a little mushroom that looks like he has like 4 like fang mouths.
Yeah.
Mouths.
Yeah.
It's
It is-
terrifying.
yeah, I was gonna say it's very terrifying.
But they're
Yeah.
very small, so not too terrifying.
Yeah, you can take them down pretty easily, but they usually come in swarms. Like there can be like a battle where you have to fight 5 of them, and
Yeah.
they have a move called 4 laser, which does like a significant
It
amount
does.
of damage.
This is actually, I found this a good place to do limit breaks and get
Yeah.
everybody's next level limit break.
Yeah,
Or not next level, but the second level for whatever level they're on.
yeah,
Because you can run through limits real quick here. But they do a lot of but they do a lot of damage. So you can't just willy-nilly run out there and be cool with spamming limits. You also need to heal while they're doing this because
Exactly,
it does
yeah.
do a bit of damage, and
Yeah.
there's 5 of them.
I've had to use a couple of Phoenix Downs while in this area just because like,
Really?
I wasn't paying attention, and or they used like 3 on the same person, or I think like Tifa. had
Where's
to
your
cover-
god gamer now?
Damn it! Where's my scepter? I gotta give it over. Yeah, it's pretty tough. There's also another like weird tortoise enemy here. It's like a tortoise spider looking thing called the Bagnadrana.
Oh yeah. I did have that, yeah.
And I actually had a lot more success stealing from this thing than the
Is
search
that
crown.
what you get from it? Because I got it and I was like, oh, it's like a rhinoceros spider,
Oh yeah, no, that
or maybe it's a shell. I don't know.
The-
It's wild looking.
The Japanese name is Bugna Dragona, which I guess means
Oh.
bug dragon.
Maybe so.
yeah, it's like a big bug dragon. But you can steal a Red 13 weapon from it, the diamond pin.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Speaking of Red and the other party members, as soon as we get past this screen, we come to another screen that is, to describe it, it's the two different train tracks, right? One is elevated a little higher than the other, and the one that is lower has a like a mechanical bridge on it.
Yeah, like a drawbridge.
A drawbridge, right? And it's there's like a little canal there too, so it makes
Yeah.
sense that there's a drawbridge there for like ships to pass it.
Right.
And the drawbridge is up, right? And so we see the rest of the party, and they're all just standing there in front of it. And I talked to Red first, and he goes, "What? Oh, it's you." And I was like, "Damn, dude, spooks easy."
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
fucking damn, Red.
Yeah, he was ready to like take on like whatever monster was going on in the Shinra building, and he's like, "I'll go ahead." Like after everyone was dead, but like you walk in, he's like, "Huh."
Oh, okay, yeah. Ooh. Have you ever seen American Dad?
Yeah.
You know the ooh, like Stan does. He's like when
Oh,
he's
yeah,
surprised, he goes, ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were referring to the caveman SpongeBob, who also does the same thing.
No. So Red kind of tells you that there's an instrument that, or if you don't have Red in your party, he's explaining it to you.
Yeah.
I don't know who explains it if you.
I also
Red.
had red.
Okay. So he says that there's an instrument in this hut that you can all see attached to the upper track.
Yeah.
And he says there's an instrument over there that manipulates this bridge.
I love the way he phrases that.
Manipulates the bridge.
It reminds me of my old boss when I was working a job in high school, or like shortly after high school when I had a BlackBerry, and I was just like on Facebook all the time while working this retail job when no customers were in. And he complained to me, and he was like, "You're always there, like looking at your machine."
Looking at your machine.
Real old man, grumpy old man
Oh
vibes.
my god. But I like that then they like pan the camera over to the shack that's visible from where you are. Like you can see it already,
Yeah.
but they go ahead and pan the camera so that it's centered, and then they turn on like the little entrance animate, like the thing that shows you where entrances are, and a big like cartoon hand points at it and goes, "The shack is here."
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I can see the shack. It's
Yeah.
on the screen right now. There have been several other moments in this game that haven't had obvious entrances or exits. This one is obvious.
Yeah, especially right here. There's another thing that's not obvious at all that you can do. With
Yeah. 2 seconds.
But yeah, and they have like the
Yeah.
green arrow over it and everything. So
Yeah.
I wonder if there was like play testers or something, and they're like, "Oh, I'm stuck here" and stuff. And they're like, "Oh, we gotta let
Maybe
people know."
could
Who knows?
be. But so yeah.
I totally missed that because I just took the high road for the gig. From the
Did
beginning.
you?
God gamer,
I also
you're the new God gamer.
Well, that's weird because when you're on the upper thing, you see Tifo go like, "Go Cloud, go!" And I'm like, "There's a train."
Eric said that to me too. Yeah,
because-
that's what I thought too. I
Is
thought
there a train coming? Like,
the
oh my
first
God.
time I was like, "Oh my god, there's a train behind me." Yeah.
The train's right behind me, isn't it?
yeah, talking shit about the train. It's behind me, isn't it? You turn around.
Did you ever see that Futurama where Bender's talking shit on someone and he goes, "Uh-oh, she's not behind me, is she?" And she goes, "No, I'm in front of you." She's standing literally right in front of him.
It's so good. In my game, it was Eris, and she was like, "Go, Cloud, go!" But what's funny is like before I walked, because to go up onto the upper path after that, you actually have to walk back.
Yeah, you have to backtrack a little.
Yeah, and then go to the next one. And
Everyone's treating it like it's this huge heroic moment. Like, yeah, Cloud, do
I know,
it.
Very weird.
Well, what's funny is like, so if you go to the bottom one first, your party gives you a chance to
Button
switch
pusher.
everybody out. They'll be like, "Hey, do you want to switch out everybody? You want to switch out party members or anything?" And I said no. And then Eris says, "I'm sure glad I'm with you, Cloud." And I was like, You're not with me right now. You're not in the party. What do you mean?" Like, but anyway,
Well, right now, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's also funny that when you can change people, it says like, "Okay, then ... and it lets you go like, "Let's move on," or PHS. So it's like,
yeah.
you need this phone even when you're standing directly in front of people
Yeah.
to be like, "Oh no, we need to switch parties
Yep.
now."
Cloud and his machine.
Yuffie has a great dialogue box here.
Oh, what is it?
Where she just says, "I'm pooped."
Barrett just says, "Whew."
This girl are pooped.
And so you go up into the shack, right? And at this point in the game, I had Tifa and Yuffie with me, and I don't know if it changes depending on who you have, but the shack is small; it's very tiny, right? And as soon as they all three try to go into it, someone says, "Come on, Cloud, don't let it get to you. This is it."
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
It's very, very weird.
What happened? And then Cloud says, maybe if I turn this, and the bridge lowers and everybody runs across.
Yeah, it's funny too because they don't have any animation for the bridge lowering. It just shifts the camera over so you can't see the bridge anymore,
and then shifts it back, and it's
and
down.
you see the rest of your teammates start like running down that track.
What's cool too is that like you actually see them running down the track, and you're walking around too. And I got a good sense of like, the gang's all here. We're all doing something cool. So. The other thing that you can do here is
you hear some tweeting.
You hear some tweeting.
Yeah.
Tweet.
Just like if you're on your cell phone and you haven't turned off your notifications. Yeah, so there's a nondescript piece of the mountain that borders some of the upper track, and it doesn't like look like you should be able to interact with it. It is just part of the background. It's not obvious. But I found it by accident because I was running back the other way. And I think more than likely, if you're running back the other way, you'll probably accidentally jump onto it.
I was trying to jump down to the other track. Like, they're not gonna make me walk back, are they? Like, oh, they are. So, but I actually found out you can climb up the wall.
Yeah. Do you have to hit like the confirm button to access this?
I think you can.
I don't think so.
Oh, weird. I was hitting the button because I was like trying to figure out what the tweeting was.
Yeah.
And then I started climbing. So I didn't realize that you don't even have to do that.
So you climb up and you go to the next screen, and the screen is like super zoomed in, right?
Yeah.
So we see like Cloud's head, like the back of his head is like a good fourth of the screen here, and you see your other two members like on the left and right of you on the corners of the screen. So it's like the camera's maybe a couple inches behind Cloud's head, and we're looking at what he's looking at and the party member's looking at.
Yeah, and I didn't know what we were looking at first. I was like, what the fuck is this thing? Like this giant
it's a little
yellow
baby
shape.
bird nest.
Yeah. I just mean Cloud's hair. I was like, is that some kind of chocobo? And then in like the background of it, you see these two adorable little like chicks.
Yeah. We're looking at a little bird's nest, and there's these two little chicks. Yeah. And so I had Tifa and Yuffie, and Tifa goes, "Oh, cute," and Yuffie says, "Yow, look at that."
Barrett's dialogue is very adorable.
What is that?
He's like, "Hey, baby."
Oh, I love Barrett so fucking
He's so
much.
good.
Let him show his eyes in the remake. Squeenix.
Yeah. So Aerith says how cute, and Tifa says yes, how cute.
Confirmed.
So you see these little guys,
Confirmed.
and then you get to either be a monster or not be a monster.
So I've always been a monster.
Yeah,
but I didn't this time.
Yeah, good.
So you get to they're sitting on treasure.
Yeah,
right?
You see like a little open treasure chest.
Yeah, and so
or
Cloud,
a couple treasure chests. It looks like.
Yeah, and Cloud says, "What do we do?" And your options are take the treasure or leave it where it is.
Yeah.
I in the past have always taken it.
Yeah, it's treasure. You got to take it.
Well, I was like, it was treasure. It's probably fine. They're not going to die or anything.
Yep.
However, if you take the treasure, Mama Bird comes back, and then you kill it, and so.
Yep.
So, by...
So you got two new party members.
Yeah, by associative property. Yeah, they go off and make Bird Avalanche, and they're going after Cloud.
You.
Yeah.
Counter-terrorist app.
Yeah. So, this time I said, leave it alone, and Cloud just says, it's got nothing to do with us. Let's just forget about it.
Yeah.
And Tifa says, right, that was admirable of you. And Yuffie goes, are you kidding?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Aerith just goes, Cloud, ... Like she's moved by your generosity to not kill this, to not make these chicks orphans.
Yeah.
Yuffie says, you kidding?
Yeah.
And, but Red says glug for some reason. I don't know why.
That's so weird.
Glug.
Glug.
Only a
he just
drunk
swallows
would
the
be.
chicks.
Weirdo.
Yeah, but if you end up taking the treasure, I think it's like 10 Phoenix Downs.
Yeah.
Which is
They're
They're like 50 gil. Come on.
Yeah, it's not worth the guilt.
Yeah.
And like nothing actually bad comes of this other than that fight.
Yeah, I don't think it even affects the affection scale or anything like that.
Let's say that in a world dominated by profit and the rule of capital, nothing goes bad in this. Like there's no problem. However, if we're measuring society by whether or not children are dying, then a lot of bad comes of it.
Exactly.
So I wish there was some real world analog to describe that, but there's not.
Luckily, life is great.
Yeah.
And nothing bad ever happens.
So
I was chock full of items because of my cheated save.
Yeah.
So I didn't bother.
Nice.
Alex was straight chalked. Do y'all want to talk about the hole?
Yes.
There's a hole?
You want to talk about living in the hole all day?
There's a hole.
Did you find the hole?
I found no hole.
Oh, okay.
Curtis, you want to take it away?
Let's do it. All right. So if you go to so like you were saying, you have to go back and get on the other train track, the one that leads to the drawbridge, and follow your party members. There's a little like sandbar. Because like we said earlier, that set of tracks is close enough to the water to necessitate a drawbridge. So there's like a little sandbar or like a little just piece of the mountain that kind of comes up close to it enough that you can just jump onto it and run around. And you run to like a cave in the mountain, and this place is entirely missable. It's not even visible on the screen. You just have to.
I don't even think there's an icon for it.
No, it's like a little hidden area. And you walk in, and it's just like a hollowed out cave, like in this mountain, like a little small one. It's like dome shaped, right? And there's just a fucking bulldozer inside, and a guy sleeping on a bulldozer, and a couple treasures.
Yeah, there's like a traffic cone.
Yeah, there's a tent and a mind source, and I think a power source in there, and yeah, like a traffic cone, an oil drum.
Oh wait, no, I'm an idiot. That's not a traffic cone. That's the item.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That's like the power source or whatever.
Yeah, the red one.
Yeah.
Right,
so,
right.
Which is interesting because now we're like usually we only see items in like a certain color, but in this it's red. The one that we saw earlier I think was like pink or green.
Yeah, there've been green ones.
Yeah.
But in Junon we get to see all the different flavors.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so there's a guy sleeping on a bulldozer, and he just says, "Hey, how'd you ever wind up in here? Look, I'm sorry, but there ain't a thing I can do for you." And if you talk to him again, he says, "Oh boy, Corel has sure gone to pot. Used to be a famous coal mining town. They say that there are more jobs than you could shake a ... Well, you get the picture." And if you talk to him again, he says, "Now it's nothing but a miserable pit. Me and my bulldozer, everyone's out of work. Got no job, can't even show my face. About all that's left for me is just living in the hole every day." All day. And I was like, living in the hole all day, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, aren't we all just living in the hole all day?
Amen.
So that's that. And then there's one last screen to this area, right?
The bridge.
The big wooden bridge.
Oh yeah.
And it's cool because like we're like looking down the bridge, the camera is, right?
Yeah, we're like running towards the camera.
Yeah, the camera's at one end of it, and we're all the way on the other end, and we get this long scene. Chosen one, I'm coming! Every time you go into a battle, you're farther back.
Also, it's a little tense because like the last time we were on a bridge like this, I feel like
it broke.
Yeah.
And the camera wobbles up and down.
Yeah, it's really
while
good.
we're running across the
I was
bridge.
getting some vertigo going. The extreme angle and forced perspective in this is kind of wild.
Yeah.
And we get a recurring Final Fantasy enemy here, one that appears in all the different Final Fantasies, called the Bomb.
Yep.
Which is just a red fireball with like an evil cackling face on it.
Yep.
And they all have, I don't think they did this until like 4, but from then on, they do a thing where you attack them and then they expand, right? So every time you hit it, it gets larger. You hit it 3 times, it explodes and kills a party member. Or just does a crap load of damage.
Yeah.
Like I have a saved screenshot where like Tifa had full health and at the end had 4 HP.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I got hit by one of them too, and it didn't kill my party member, but it was like, it did a significant chunk of damage.
Yeah. I think it's intended to either kill or put you in like the most critical state at this point of the game. It's a lot of damage.
Yeah, and then you don't get any experience from it if it self-destructs.
Right. And like, it has a bit of HP, so...
Yeah, like I had to use Ice 2 to take it down.
Exactly, that's what I did too. I used Ice 2, and I had limit breaks as well.
Yeah. Also, have you seen what you can steal from it?
I haven't.
Yeah, so you can steal a right arm from it, and I was like, cool. Is that a weapon for Barrett?
The right arm of Genova.
So, and then I looked up what it did, and it's just like a consumable item, kind of like a grenade. Yeah. And it's it's explosive physical attack on all targets, moderate damage. So like the base damage is like 1600, and it's just like the icon that they have on the Final Fantasy fandom wiki is just like the right arm of a bomb, like the red little jagged finger arm. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I was gonna say, what do you think that is? But
it's very weird. Like, so you're fighting this thing and you literally just rip its arm off.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's apparently the most powerful attack item on disc 1.
Oh man. Yeah, it was pretty hard to steal. And then
you said 1600 base damage.
Yeah, that's
like
what it's saying.
Boss HP.
Yeah. So I think the other there's another thing like that that does it to I think one target that's called an S mine, which is another like really good item that we haven't come across yet. But it does a shitload of damage. So it might be worth like just taking that from the bombs if you can get out of it. Yeah, for reference, that's like I think 10 times the amount that a grenade does.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I kind of want to go back because I'm like, I just saved just past this area, so I kind of want to go back on my game now and steal a couple.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
So that's the end of those train tracks, and now we're going to get to Corel, right?
Yep.
So this is where we've been kind of heading toward across the mountains, and I want to say haven't we been somewhere named Corel something at some point? Maybe not. Maybe
I don't think so.
Maybe I'm full of turds, but yeah. So we get to Corel,
North Corel, right?
North Corel specifically.
Yeah.
And this is like an old mining town, right? Like someone, the guy in the hole, said he was like, "Oh, it's an old coal mining town," and it is just ruined. It looks like
it looks like shit. It looks like absolutely dog shit town.
The buildings are all falling apart.
Yeah, there's tents everywhere. There's like shops set up outside.
Yeah,
like everything's like gray.
Yeah.
Or like light brown, like.
Yeah, it's
real depressing.
Very rough looking. Now I didn't have Barrett in my party at the time.
Neither did I.
Okay, so when you walk in, Barrett is already talking to somebody, right?
Yep.
And there's these two dudes in miners' outfits and like a big burly dude behind them, right? Mm-hmm. And they fucking one of them punches Barrett right in the face.
Instantly just walks up and fucking
slugs
hits
him. Yeah, it gives him a real one. And one of them says, "Well, looky here. I never thought I'd see your face again. They kick you out of another town or something. You destroy everything that you touch." And then another guy says, "Oh, you got a lot of nerve coming back here." And like they're all kind of like saying that, like we don't get a idea of exactly which of these guys is saying what.
Yeah.
They're all just kind of
everyone's just piling on him.
Yeah, right.
And it's insane because like up to this moment, if anyone tried that shit with Barrett, like he would be like,
he would fuck
you,
him up.
And he would get like, you know, he would be shooting everywhere and stuff. And
he's just taking it. He's not saying
and he's
anything.
taking it, and they say, "Look at this place. It's all your fault, North Corel, turned into a garbage heap."
Yeah.
And why don't you say something? Or did you forget what you've done here already?
Yeah.
And then he just like shrinks down a little bit and like hangs his head down low, and he just says, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, and then they say like zoinks.
Zoinks.
Some swear word. And so you ain't even worth the effort. And then like one of the greatest lines
so good
in all of Final Fantasies, "Don't waste your time talking to that techno freak."
Just makes me think of the scene in Shaun of the Dead where they're up all night drinking and listening to techno, and the roommate comes in and he's flipping out and he throws the record out the window.
Listeners, don't waste your time talking to techno freaks.
Yeah, they're not worth your time.
No.
And then, so then they kind of disperse. They're like, "Fuck this guy. He's not even worth the effort."
Yeah.
And you can walk forward, or I think Barrett like walks towards you a little bit, and he just says, "You heard him. It's my fault this town was destroyed."
Right, and that's all that really happens right now. For a second, now we get control of Cloud again.
Yeah,
we can walk around, and some of the people of the town are still just being like one guy says, "You know who's responsible for North Corel winding up like this." And so, like, there's some history here with Barrett. Lordy, they do not like him by any means.
North Corel, I don't know if we talked about what it looks like. It looks kind of just like a shanty town, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's absolutely rubble and tents set up everywhere.
Yeah, there's like rundown train tracks that have just like trash all over it. And one guy even says, like, he's by that trash, and he says, "The only way we can make ends meet around here now is by collecting junk."
Yep. One of them mentions that the ropeway that goes to the gold saucer here, but it doesn't even matter to the poor people there.
Yep.
Like they're all so broke and everything sucks so much that it doesn't even matter that the gold saucer's there. Nobody could afford to go to it.
Yep.
Yeah. One guy just says, "If you want to survive, you'll need my weapons." And he's
that's really good. Yeah, everyone's
like,
"Oh man, like please buy something, anything will do." Or like, you know, they're all pretty desperate, except for the weapons guy who's like, "You need to get these to survive." It's funny too, like the one shop you can say, "Listen to your story."
Yeah.
Instead of buying, and his story is literally just telling you how to get to the ropeway.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, oh man, I was hoping for more like juicy details on the Barrett stuff.
And there's some houses you can go into, and everybody kind of has the same general thing that they say, that either they used to be miners, or they were married to a miner, or they have family who are miners, and now they're either dead or paralyzed, or
there's
like an old man is in one of them, and he's like, "How can I go on living?"
Without any work. And then his wife is like, "My husband used to be so strong before the accident."
Right.
There's another old man in I think one of the tents who is just kind of walking back and forth, and then there's like a young girl in the back of the tent, and you talk to him, and he's like, oh, the next train's coming through pretty soon. And then you talk to her, and she says that he used to be a coal train engineer, and like he can't kick his old habits.
Yeah, he's still
just pretty sad.
Yeah,
like,
because there's not trains coming through. Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
And there won't be for a long time.
A long time.
Also, a little bit aside of this, still in Corel, still an NPC, but not necessarily about the history of Corel itself. There's a guy who says, oh, I hear it's a big fad now in the city to get tattoos. Is that right? And as soon as he said that, I like immediately knew where it was going.
Yep.
You know? And now if you say I wouldn't know, he says I should get a 0 tattoo because for a poor person like me, 0 ought to be perfect.
Yep.
Which like damn. Oof. But if you say what was the other one? That's right. He says, oh, really? I saw a big number 1 on the arm of a young guy heading toward the ropeway. That black cape he had on was really cool.
Yep.
So
it's another mention of a tattoo where, if you guys remember back in the slums, the guy who are sick also had a tattoo.
Yep.
And he was sick.
And this is a man in a black cape.
Yep.
Doesn't Sephiroth have long sleeves, though?
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, I think he does.
He was just showing off the tattoo.
Yeah, he's like
very
rolling it
proud
up
of
as
it.
he goes.
And his
loves his
tickets to the gold saucer, apparently.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he has one sleeve rolled up, and in that arm, he's like holding a bunch of tickets. He's like, "Look at this." Everybody's just like, "Damn, look at that guy balling. He's a real showboat."
There is one guy that I wanted to talk about who lives in a tent with his family, and he's got real pop punk energy because he says, "I want to leave this garbage dump of a town behind me and start a new life."
Yep.
And he says, "If I had a buggy, I'd cross the southern desert and go to that town across the river."
Man, if only we had a buggy.
Yeah,
I want a buggy.
it'd be cool to have a little dune
Well,
buggy.
you might be in for a treat, but not this week.
But his wife actually says something very interesting that kind of puts everything going on here into more perspective.
Sure.
She says, everyone knows that accident couldn't have been avoided, but no one will be satisfied until someone takes the blame.
So,
also, the little boy says that there's something glowing in that well over there. If I can get my hands on it, I'm going to sell it and go to the gold saucer. So I went to that well and I couldn't figure out, I don't know if there's actually an item in there or that's just more flavor text to be like, oh, hey, like people are
Could be,
desperate.
like,
They live
materia or
right next to
something.
like this like insanely like decadent like amusement park and they can't even go
and they
to
can't
it.
afford food or housing or anything. Yeah.
Very shitty.
There's Mako
Gold
in these
saucer.
wells.
So we're kind of told. So from here, you can actually go out to the world map if you want to.
Yeah.
Save your game.
Do a quick
fight a little
save
bit.
for free.
Yeah, if you have
Get
for
a free save.
But the place to go to advance the story is to the ropeway, right? The one that leads to the gold saucer. And Barrett's standing outside of the
tram,
shuttle car. Yeah,
the
yeah.
shuttle.
And he says, "My hometown used to be around here." And Red says, "Oh, what do you mean used to?" And he starts to give us the history of Corel, right?
Yeah.
He says, "It ain't here no more. It got buried in just 4 years." And Eris pipes up and goes, "Oh, but how could those people say those terrible things?" And he's like not even listening to her. He's just like, "It's all my fault. All of it's my fault."
Yep.
And then we go into a flashback, right?
Yeah,
so we got Cloud's flashback. Now we're gonna get Barrett's.
Yeah, both are very happy and good and don't have like the exact same ending.
Yeah.
Where we see, I guess, Coral as it was like properly.
With houses and little.
like actual houses. There's like tracks going along, so there's like a lot of traffic going through it. Like,
Right.
There's like 2 Shinra soldiers are kind of standing around. There's kids running around with a dog, I think, and like people just milling around. It looks like a nice and happy place.
Yeah.
And Barrett is talking over this little scene, and he says, "My hometown, Coral's always been a coal mining town. It may be dusty and poor, but it's calm. It's a real small town." That's the first time I ever heard Mako Reactor mentioned since then.
Oh, yeah.
So then it shifts into a room.
Yeah, so we're in someone's house, and it's like a nice little like kind of country home. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's got a bunch of shelves with like dishes and stuff
Some
on
curio cabinets.
Yeah, right, and some couches.
Nice little fireplace.
And there's 4 clearly coal miners standing in one corner. Barrett is standing up. There's a dude on a couch, an old man, and Scarlet.
Yeah.
From Shinra.
Which
right?
I didn't notice until it came up with her dialogue.
Yeah, that she was standing there.
It starts off and it's the village headman talking, and that's covering
her.
Scarlet and her 2 lackeys.
And I think I could be mistaken about this, but I think Scarlet is the last of the Shinra managers to really get plot at all, right?
I think so.
Like we've met Reeve. Reeve is the one who whines about everything and is always like, "Oh, you can't do this, President Shinra. You'll kill people." And
yeah, we've run into Sang, Rude, Reno, and
they're not
Elena.
managers, right?
Oh,
they're
right,
part of the
yeah.
Turks. Yeah.
Oh, right.
I mean, like there's Palmer, who's space manager.
Heidegger.
Heidegger, and I think the last one is Scarlet. And this is the first time we've kind of got introduced to her character.
Yeah.
I think the only thing she's really said the whole time is that something stinks when she realizes.
She was in the board meeting, yeah.
Yeah, when we're in the bathroom vents, right? Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But that's what the whole thing looks like. So the scene is, because like there's a lot of text here, so I think for some of it I'm not going to read the exact text, but generally what's happening is that this guy on the couch who's sitting by himself that Barrett's looking at and the old man's looking at, who's the village headman.
Yeah, the village headman.
Yeah. They're trying to convince him that putting a Mako reactor
it's the only way.
Is the only yeah. So
and he's like, no, like this coal was our fathers, it was our grandfathers. We're not getting rid of these coal mines. Like this is our livelihood.
Yeah, and the village headman says that the only person opposed to it is this guy, and his name's Dine.
Dine,
right?
Yep.
So Dine's the only one that's opposed to it, and he, like you said, he's like, oh, it's been ours for generations. Our fathers and theirs before them risked their lives for it, you know. So he's real stuck to tradition, which, like, you know.
Yeah, which is
no
fair.
judgment,
like that's
right?
their entire livelihood is based
I actually
off
think
of
that this is a very interesting part of the game to go through in 2019 America today.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we're like facing things like climate change, where we're like, oh, coal, you know, you could be responsible for a lot of that. Also, a lot of smaller towns rely on it for employment. You know what I mean? So, like, I think that's a very interesting analog to stuff going on today, and we're kind of seeing that played out in a video game from the 90s.
Exactly.
Or like big companies overseas like promising to like bring wealthier city by like, let's build a plant here. It's going to bring so many jobs to town.
Yeah.
Let's bring the Shinra HQ to New York City and not listen to what the people are saying.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And then Barrett says that nobody uses coal now, so that's where the the equivalency to our real world stops. He says no one uses coal nowadays. Yep. Sign of the times.
Yeah, it's a sign of the times. Like we just got to move on. We got to adapt, and we need to trust in Shinra.
Yeah, and that's when Scarlet kind of pipes in and is like, yeah, exactly. Like it'll be okay. We're gonna bring in a Mako reactor. It'll have jobs. Life is gonna be so much easier for everybody else.
Yeah. She says Shinra Inc. will guarantee your livelihood once the Mako reactor is completed. Mako. Sorry.
Yeah. So Barrett, and this is the first time we get a sense of like Barrett's wife. Yeah. Right. We know he has Marlene, right, and his daughter, and he says, "I don't want my wife Myrna,
I would say, yeah.
To suffer anymore." So I don't know. I guess because they're poor. Yeah. I mean, even typically miners don't make a ton of money, right? So I think whether or not she is like actually suffering from something or just the pain of like not having
just existing in such harsh conditions.
Yeah, and if Barrett's a miner, like obviously like that's not good for your health. Yep. You know what I mean? And like what's not good for your health is typically not good for your family's health as well.
Exactly.
So. And like, you know, Dine's putting up a fight. He's like, I know how you feel. I feel the same way. But it's just not right. You know,
he doesn't want to give away the coal mines.
Yeah, and this little scene ends with the village headman saying, "Dine, you've got to understand."
He puts his hand on his shoulder.
And then the screen dims a little bit, and we come back to Barrett talking to us, and he says, "And that's how the Corel reactor was built and completed." And so, like, I love that way that they do that storytelling where they're having this fight, and then instead of showing Dine changing his mind, it just cuts and Barrett goes, and it was completed. Like it was done. He says, we all thought it would bring us an easier life, and then immediately it switches over to Corel just on fire.
Yep, and there's like a little water tower that you can see in this little screen as like the camera's panning over. There's people like dead in the streets, and a man falls from the top of the water tower like right as the scene starts, and he hits the ground. And and I think it starts playing the Shinra music here as well.
Real unnerving.
Which it just came from like the mining town music, which was like very nice and kind of like. Not like peaceful like the other music we had heard, but you know, it kind of paints the scene a little bit. And then it's just like, oh nope, Shinra's here and nothing good ever comes of that.
Yep. And he says when they were away for a few days, Corel was burned down by Shinra troops.
Yep.
He says all the townspeople, all my relatives, everyone and everything.
Yep.
And then and
it goes back to the ropeway, and Cloud walks forward and like seems really pissed off, and he says, "Shinra troops, what for?"
Right.
And Barrett explains that there was an explosion at the reactor, and Shinra just assumed it was people, like a rebel faction that was attacking them. They blamed the accident on the people, and then just that was their retaliation.
Yeah. And, Tiva pops in, "Oh, that's so terrible." And, like, Barrett's response to Tiva is like, "Well, I guess that's true." Like,
Yeah. But
oh, you're right.
Yeah. But he also says, like, but more than the Shinra, like, he can't forgive himself. So,
Right,
like, we already know how much Barrett hates Shinra. The mere mention of their name, like, sends him into a fucking frenzy.
And now we kind of get it that, like, he was, like, the person driving for it, who was like, yeah, we should support Shinra back in the day, and being like, we should get their support, we should get their help, we should build Mako reactors, it'll make everything better. And he was like the one who convinced the town to do it.
Yep.
And then Shinra destroyed the town and killed everybody because of his trust.
Yeah. Like, so it's very apparent now why he hates them so much, but also kind of shows that he hates himself a lot too. Like, he's putting all of this blame on himself.
Right.
Like, the one lady in the town said, like, the accident was unavoidable at the reactor, so like no one will be satisfied unless there's someone to blame, including Barrett. Like, he blames the Shinra, obviously, but more than that, he blames himself, which is very tragic.
Yeah. And, Tifa says, like, we were all fooled by the promises that Shinra made back then, right?
Which is
because, like, she
relatable.
Also is from Nibelheim, which has a Mako reactor in it, and burned down. Crazy how this keeps happening.
Yeah,
like in Sector 7 plate falls. Every town they're in gets burned down.
Yep.
Yeah. I think, now, a thing that it won't come up for a while or whatever, but I was kind of thinking about, I think there's one town later in the game that doesn't have a Mako reactor.
Really?
I think there's one.
Ooh.
And I'm excited to talk about that when that time comes. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. See how that shakes out.
So the attendant for the ropeway kind of pipes in, right?
Yeah. Right after Barrett says this really.
Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry.
He says,
I
like,
missed the important part there.
Yeah, he says, like, not only did they take advantage of me, but I lost my wife Myrna too. So
that's a very important part.
He's like, oh, I lost everything. I lost my wife. Like, I was doing this for her. I was trying. And then the dude just pipes in, "Hey everyone, if you want to go to the Gold Saucer, hurry up and get on."
Yeah, and I said no.
Yeah,
because I was like, no, I want to talk to everybody right now and see what everybody's up to. So if you say no, you can continue talking to everybody.
Yeah.
And Barrett says, Dine was my best friend. We were close ever since we were kids, and it's all my fault. I'm like, this sucks.
And then Yuffie has a really insensitive line.
What?
She just goes, "I'm waiting inside," and she just goes into the car.
Oh, fucking Yuffie.
Yeah, and then like, I think everyone else kind of like then the dialogue is kind of done. And you can talk to Red 13, and he just says ... Like, he doesn't say anything.
Yeah, Era says everything Shinra does makes everyone miserable.
Yeah.
Era says the same thing regardless if you go on or not. You can go on, and he just continues talking, saying, "Oh, okay, my best friend." But
so
the same thing happens. But
I said no because I wanted to walk out.
But if you say go on, but if you do say go on, which I did, Yuffie says, "I'm not sympathizing with Barrett. He never should have trusted Shinra."
Oh yeah, which is some good characterization.
Cold, and then she gets on.
It's cold, but it's also like
and she has history with Shinra too, which we'll find out eventually. Yeah, which everybody does, right? Like everybody in this game has a history with Shinra. It's kind of like the thing that like ties everyone together.
Yep.
Actually, let me think about that for a second. Yes, literally everybody has a bone to pick. I was like, maybe there's another character somewhere that doesn't, but no, they all do.
The Waluigi of this game who only shows up to like play tennis and like have a party.
There's 8 characters.
I think so.
I think that's right, 8. But yeah, all of them. They all have a bone to pick.
Yep. Shinra fucks with everyone.
But that's where we're gonna leave it today.
Yeah. The ropeway takes you to the Gold Saucer. It's free, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just take the free ride to the place.
Yeah. Free ride. Yeah, it's free.
The shuttle is free.
So
Disney World.
Here's how we're gonna do the next episode. I kind of want to tell people this. So we're gonna go to the Gold Saucer, and we're gonna play up until we meet and become friends with Dine, and as soon as that is over is where we're gonna cut it then.
Sure.
And because like the Golden Saucer has a lot going on, we could do a whole episode just about the mini games in the Gold Saucer.
Yeah.
What I suggest we do is we don't get too deep into the mini games or too deep into how the mechanics of the Gold Saucer works, because we're not really there to do that right now.
Yeah.
And we don't really touch it that much.
And there's like a lot of story beats that happen there.
Exactly. So I want to go ahead and get through that, and then at a later date, we'll have an episode dedicated to the gold saucer and like the mini games and all the things you can do there. I think that's how we should do it.
I agree, because you can come back to the gold saucer later and play a lot of mini games. It's not necessary, but it's sort of necessary for some missable items and stuff. So
correct.
When we get to the point in the game where we're going back and playing all the mini games and trying to accumulate the gold saucer fun bucks, we'll talk about that a little more.
Yeah. So if you're playing along with us, feel free to do the mini games and everything. You won't be able to do them to their full extent yet, and most of the things in the gold saucer are turned off or not available yet.
Yeah.
But feel free to walk around in there and do all that stuff. But we're gonna go ahead and kind of like plow through the plot and get to the base of the gold saucer where we meet Dine, and we'll cut it off there next time.
Yeah, and my uncle works at Final Fantasy, and he said if you get 999 points in the basketball mini game, then you get to ride Yoshi instead of a chocobo.
I'm really excited.
So let's see. Is there any other things we want to say?
Not much.
No, I think that's about it.
Cool.
Good luck on your tour last week, Alex.
Yeah,
I'm hoping it went great.
Yeah, I'm
hoping it went great.
I'm hoping I edited this in time.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, fair.
Theme music is a remix by DJ Cutman. Featured music sprinkled throughout is by Nuboa Uematsu. Check the show notes for a link to the soundtrack. It's great. Subscribe, rate, review. Tell us Eris or Aerith. Tell us what you think Sephiroth smells like. GMC Faux Show knows what Sephiroth smells like. I asked him.
Did you ask him? And now for our new segment,
Show Watch.
Show Watch. Ask GMC Faux Show.
I asked GMC Faux Show this morning, what do you think Sephiroth smells like? And he says, anyone that wears a long-ass leather jacket will undeniably smell like leather. I'm also available for all your X2 and 13-2 questions.
Oh, fuck yes!
Oh, hell yeah!
Yes!
Thank you, GMC Faux Show.
Fuck yeah. Friend of the show, officially.
Friend of the, yeah. Hey,
best friend
who's
of
a
the
friend
show.
of the show? Are we a friend of the show, or is he a friend of the show?
We're a friend of the
Oh,
GMC.
Oh, that's right.
Holy shit. Yeah,
Word.
go listen to his music. Watch his YouTube videos.
Yeah, was that wordplay or turd play? Oh, yeah.
Read his YouTube video descriptions, because there's
some gold in
fucking
there.
Hilarious.
If you're a fan of the show, tell your friends about us, because some people don't click on links on social media. It's just
Yeah, fair enough.
Me being one of them.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody who has been listening to us and sending us messages. Like, if you're one of the people who have sent us messages, like even if they're as simple as just like, I enjoy the show, like that is enormous.
It makes a huge difference.
Like every time somebody does that, we share that message between each other on our like private Signal, and we're like, look at this person, they said this nice thing, and we're like, God, what a fucking champion.
Yeah,
so like that really does mean the world to us when you do that.
Yeah, like we love doing this, and it's something that we all look forward to.
Yeah, like
each
we
week
would
and
do
stuff.
it regardless,
But that really helps too, because especially like when I'm writing down like, oh, this NPC says this dialogue that doesn't matter, or I'm taking a million screenshots or deleting a million screenshots. Like usually I think at this point in the game you'd be 10 hours in?
Yeah,
I think, roughly.
Well, maybe not. I bet not even.
I'm like 21 hours in just from the amount of time I've spent like taking notes and stuff like that, and like it's like kind of a labor of love, mostly love, but like hearing someone reach out and say like, oh hey, I love this is really great, has been really helpful to me.
Did you see somebody reached out to us with a pronunciation key?
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, they were like, hey, I found this video that I think you might really enjoy, and it's like a pronunciation key thing.
God damn, we definitely need that.
It's really good, except they pronounce Eris wrong in it.
Oh.
Yeah, they
Anyway.
But yeah, like 2 months ago I would say that I hate JRPGs, but this whole project kind of like made me really enjoy this.
Changing lives.
Yeah. One Final Fantasy at a time.
Yeah, give us a follow on Twitter, Instagram, send us an email at gmail at everyfnff@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we'll be other places somewhere down the line. Maybe a Twitch eventually.
Ooh.
Maybe.
Mayhaps.
When we start streaming and you get to hear the unedited bullshit.
Just hear, I'll probably still be like, oh, sorry about that, Alex, and then realize that you can't edit it and be like, shit.
All right, well, everybody,
as we say at the end of every show,
here's Smash Mouth. I'm never ready. Welcome to the Every F and FF podcast. I'm your Grand Galan. I'm your oldest Grand Galan, Curtis Ware.
I am your Grand Galan Jr.
I'm
I'm Carl Germ, by the way.
You want to start this over?
Yes.
Let's
Let's
do this
start
again.
over. Fresh.
I went to count down. I went to count down with my
5,
fingers, and I went
4.
3, 1, 2.
You've seen
like,
Wayne's
like-
World.
Wayne's World.
Did you see what I did? I
5,
went,
4,
3. You guys are mouthing. I'm gonna start saying schwing on this podcast.
Okay.
There's gonna be a lot of schwing happening on the beach.
All right.
Schwing.
I'm gonna pause for 2 seconds, and we'll try it again.
Yeah.